How's it going, folks? Welcome to Paranormal Round Table. Got a great show planned for tonight, as always. Wow, really? Okay. All right. That was my contact from the Pleiades. I met him at the UFO conference this past weekend in San Antonio. He says that I now have 3,700 haters up there now. I know. I just can't catch a break. I thought I was cool with a couple of them, especially... that's his name. That's how you pronounce his name in English. But apparently he's mad at me now, too. I'm no longer an admin in his group. Cast aside like yesterday's garbage. Never thought I'd live to see the day. One Pleiadian ready to back up another. I know what you're thinking. You're like, Wolf, does that mean that you're from Pleiades? Yes. Yes, I am. Or am I from Zeta Reticuli? I don't know. One of those places up there, the far galaxy away, time, space, whatever. You know. That's where I'm from. Because somebody sent my friend Shannon Legros a horrible nasty message about how she's crazy and stupid and running around talking about supernatural stuff and stupid like me, crazy like me. She sent me that message, and I was actually at the UFO conference when I got it, and I was like, wow, I'm over here listening to crazy stuff right now. A lot of people knew me there. I was blown away. I mean, it wasn't like a lot of people. It wasn't like, Elvis is in the building or anything like that. Like I was being mobbed like I was a Beatle or something, I was the fifth Beatle. And I was just, hey, it's Josh Turner. We recognize you. Why are you here? Ready to crash your party. Just kidding, folks. Everybody was really nice. Everybody was really funny. I went to see Daniel Jones, who did the sound system for us at our conference. And I went up there to visit Ken, and we hung out, me and Ken and Nellie and Celine for a couple days, and we had a great time. I went to visit the Daniel Jones he was on the show talking about the Aurora incident, if you don't know what that is, a few weeks back, going back before the conference. And he did a great job helping out. So I wanted to support him, and we went to the UFO conference there at the Wonderland of America's Mall. It was fun. I got interviewed by a couple different people who recognized me. So that was cool. It's a shame because, well, before I go any further, let's say Josh Turner, prtpodcast.com. That's how you can get a hold of me, or send me a friend request on Facebook if you're a listener to the show and I can approve and we can become friends. And let me do the Patreon real quick, and then I'll tell you something, and then a couple quick stories, and then we'll bring our guest on. Patrons: Adam Jinks, Andrew, Brady Matsunaga, David Vigil, Debbie Wolf, Dorothy Metcalf, Elaine E., Enid Kindley, let's see, Fat Squatch, Jason Paul Tyson, Jim Kovach, George Brunette, Maynard W., Melissa, Michael Turner, Miguel Guerra, Nova, Pam Willard Wittes, Polly G., Peter Haralamos, Ricardo Ramirez, Sir Paul, Spencer Rowley, Stacy Southwell, Steven Rivas, Tim Bernard, Titan, Vicky Walker, Barbara Blendy, Cassidy Lee, Charles Hamill, Cluffysaurus Rex, Corey Elliott, Curtis Turner, Cyrili, I always get caught up on that. David Allman, Dead Man Walking, Deborah Patterson, Derek Tribble, Dick Richards, Gloria Smith, Graydon McKee, Guy, Elder Ortega, James Estrada, John Gee, Kenny Irish, Christy, Mark, Martin Hertel, Mary Plyler, Matthew Durgo, Melissa Koyman, Mimi Piccolelli, Pauline Rome, Ricardo Herrera, Shonda Hardinger, Sonia Girding, Super Hornet 1, Susan Woodcarver, Taylor, Alexandra Orick, Terry Fusler, Tim Lewis, and Tracy Bond. Yeah, so you guys are the people, you rock. You're the ones that keep it going. You keep the show going. You keep us able to do this and keep coming back every week. You help produce the show. So appreciate that. Thank you. If you are a $10 or $20 tier, you are a Patreon member. You get your name mentioned. Here's the thing: if you're a $10 tier for 3 months, you can hit me up and I'll send you some swag and an autographed book from one of multiple authors that I'm friends with. If you're a $20 tier, just after 1 month, you get the same deal. So just hit me up and I'll send it to you. I did a bunch of mail offs today. A bunch. So if you were expecting something from us, you'll probably be getting it sometime soon. Here is the list of people that we mailed off to. Not joking. Look at that. So never fear. Your stuff will be here. Or be there. It was here. Now it's going to be there. And the postal service is so archaic. Have you noticed that? Like how bad it's got? Oh my gosh, dude. They're like, pull out the feather with the quill. Yes, what are you delivering? What would you like us to send post haste? I'm like, yes, my good man, I would like this package delivered. That may be a fortnight. God, dude, what the heck? I feel faint. Oh, the blood is leaving your face. You're turning pale. No, it's just my skin tone. I'm just aggravated. Quick, someone summon the physician. This man needs a good bleeding. The doctor comes. This is actually the patient's father. Well, he could probably use a good bleeding too, so we can get to the bottom of why his son is the way he is. Put the leeches on him. And that means the postal service is actually more archaic than that. They actually, I saw one of them saddling up a pony. And I was like, what is that? They're like, the Pony Express. I'm like, shouldn't you use like a motor carriage? Oh, no. You must want it to be there on time. Silly man. Ridiculous. So anyways, got a couple quick stories for you. I was just thinking about this the other day, and I went through, I found a story from Round Rock. Now, Round Rock is north of Austin. And the interesting thing about Round Rock, it's a suburb of Austin, but it's grown in time with Austin. And I started looking back, and I thought it was a story that somebody had given me once before, and I went back and I looked, and I said, this person, one particular person actually works at a computer company, and so I don't want to say their name, but they had given me a message on Facebook, and I was like, this must be the same person. Well, it's not. And then this other person whose name is Ram, you know who you are, and you need to get back in touch with me so I can get your story done. And I was just like, I realized there were like 4 stories that were untold and undone from Round Rock, all 4 different people. And that's just north of Austin. That's actually where one of my business partners live. And so I was looking and I thought, this is quite interesting. There's quite a bit of stuff going on there. So I thought I would get down to the bottom of one and tell you this happened to them back in, it was 17 years ago. And so I was going back over it and I was thinking, it was 2005. And I said, this is an interesting story. This person was just a kid back then. I think they said they were like 13 or 14. And so anyway, they were at their grandmother's house. Now, there's a Walmart right there. There's 2 different Walmarts. There's one that's off of 79. And you can actually look on a map where this is at. It was like right there going towards a subdivision that we actually did security at, which is really weird. And so look at this map, and it was like at that time, I think back in the early to mid 2000s, there wasn't as much development, and the place that we were working at was open fields. It wasn't even thought of to be built on yet. So when you look at this map, you can see how this could be. So I guess he had gone to get some fajitas with his grandmother or something. I think he said Taco Cabana, which I think was already there at that time, or he might have been at a different one. But anyway, his two little cousins and little brother, they're all playing Nintendo, and they wanted to stay at the house. So he decided to go with his grandmother because she couldn't see really well. And it was in the summertime. And he said summertime, was in full swing, and his grandma had a little pool that she had installed, so that the kids could go and stay there in the summertime. And their parents had all gone to Cozumel for a vacation. So grandma was the babysitter, and she loved to hang out with them and whatever. And so he went to go get this food for the kids or whatever. And as they're driving back, they just past where that Walmart is now, they see this thing sitting in a ditch. And he said it was so weird. The tail was so long that it kind of raised up. And he said the weird thing was that the tail looked almost cat-like, which tells you, hey, this probably isn't a Dogman. So I was thinking maybe like a cat type person. I don't know. But it started to go across the road. It was quite a ways in front of them, he said. So it wasn't like they were going to hit it and they were like, oh no, And it wasn't like an overly dramatic encounter. It was just freaky, and it crawled up onto the road, and then it got up on two legs and then ran across the road and then jumped down and then got back on all fours. And it was like just a weird, quick thing, but it had a snout, pointy ears, everything that would point to it being a Dogman, but the tail. And he said the tail was, the way he described it, was kind of feline. And he said, do you think this could be a Dogman? And I was like, heck no, kid, you were on some stuff, dude. Stop. No, I'm just messing. I didn't do that. I did not say that to him. I said, you kicking back on old grandpa's cough medicine there, eh, boy? Yeah? Hallucinating? Is that what you're doing? Yeah? Now, and so I saw that and I thought that is a weird encounter. Well, this other guy, his name is Ram, and I don't even know. I didn't talk to him about names and all that, but anyway, he has a La Llorona story, and I want to get him on the show because he had a freaky thing that happened to him and his friends. So if you're listening, get in touch with me. And then I had another story from an individual that I'll call K, because I haven't even begun to discuss, whatever. But I saw the story, and it was a Lechusa story. And I thought, that's crazy. But one of the really, really interesting ones I got out of Round Rock, Texas, was this happened in 2002, I believe they said, and it was in the area where it's at now. It was like a new area at that time. Now it's like there's stuff growing up all around it or whatever. But he said that his grandparents, it was involving grandparents again, they had like some trees in the backyard, and one of them was a peach tree, and it wasn't overly big. And so when they were kids, they were out there and they would pick the fruit, like the apricots. And I know it's funny because that strikes a chord with me. I did the same thing as a kid. My grandparents had an apricot tree, and they'd be like, don't pick the green ones because, you got to let them ripen. And I liked them because they were sour, and then they would give me a stomachache. I like that sweet sour taste, But so I ate a lot of green apricots. I shouldn't have. But anyway, they were out there picking the fruit off of these trees, and it was in broad daylight. And they see this thing kind of hanging on a branch, and they thought it looked almost like a hairless white monkey. And then they said that one of the older cousins thought he would be cute, and he threw I can't remember if he said it was a persimmon or an apricot or something. I got to go back and look, but I read it a few days ago, and I thought this will be an interesting story, but I didn't bring my notes to make sure that I'm telling the story correctly, but I'm almost 99% sure that this is what happened. They threw a piece of fruit, and they hit it. And from what he said, they hit it like on his backside, and this thing turned its head underneath the branch and spun around and went like that. And when he did, he said that it didn't have a really huge mouth because it didn't have a huge head, but the mouth took up a big portion of the head, and there was no nose, and there were just two eyes that looked pink. and with black dots in the middle and just pink all around it. It had no hair, and when it kind of hung down, one of the arms came down. There was like a webbing, you know, which looked, I mean, the weird looking claws on the feet, and they all just ran screaming inside. And yeah, somebody says the rake. That's exactly what I was thinking there. Yeah. So when you get this description of this creature hanging off of the tree branch, and this person said, he goes, I wasn't that old, you know, and I wasn't about to stand out there and try to fight with this thing. The oldest kid was like 15. And they had just come, the oldest kid had just come out onto the steps and saw it and ran back inside and went to tell grandma and grandpa. And when they came back out, it was gone. So they don't know what happened to it. Well, anyways, a couple months after that incident, a woman that was working in her little garden right out in her backyard, and they had like this open field that was behind their yard or whatever, and she was working in her garden, you know, in a newer place, had not, you know, there was just like an open field, and they hadn't gotten a fence up yet or whatever, and this thing comes crawling out of the wood line on all fours. It was sniffing around, and something had been messing with her garden and had been messing, like digging fruit up and potatoes and different things, was messing with stuff. So it's like, oh, this must be what it is. And she thought the same thing. She said it was this little monkey. But this was a Hispanic woman, and she said it was a little changuito, like a little monkey. So she described this encounter to this person's grandparents, who later told her about it like 10 years later. But this was 2 months after that, what happened. And this was, you know, and I thought it was cool because this was summertime. Again, it was summer stuff, you know, whatever. And this is toward the end. We're coming to the end of summer. And I thought it would be interesting, you know, to talk about that. And plus, it was in Round Rock. So, long story short, I guess, this thing kind of stares at her, stands up on its hind legs. It's about 2 feet tall. Interestingly, they said that the little thing that they saw probably wasn't even 1.5 feet. This woman said it was 2 to 2.5 feet tall. So that thing either grew a foot in 2 months, according to the story, if it's to be believed, and if these people are telling they're correct in what they're saying. Or it's 2 different creatures. But I think maybe they weren't completely sure. But here's the rub. When I spent the weekend hanging out with my friends Ann and Ken, we talked shop a little. Mostly just had fun, but we talked shop. I'm not gonna lie to you. And one of the things we talked about was threads, people giving you a story, and you're like, wow, that sounds really hard to believe. And then you kind of write it off. But you pull a thread when someone else gives you a story from somewhere clear across the country that is along the same theme, and you go, wow, that's amazing. You have another story that fits right in with that same type of incident. Well, that's what happened. So I went back, and I do have a lot of stuff filed away. You know, you just take it out of your email and put it in a little file and fold it up, and then you just put it on the shelf, and that little just sits there on the shelf till you get another story, and then you get that story out, and then you take it and you look at it, you read it, and you say, hey, that's the same kind of thing, that looks like the same kind of story, maybe this is what's going on. And that's exactly how I do everything. I'm just kidding, folks. That is not what happens. I actually have a little helper monkey, or helper rake, and he gets on there. I don't he or she, I don't know what it is, and you can't tell, but I don't know where it's at right now. But anyway, it does things for me, and it files stuff away. Sometimes it just tears the paper up and lights it on fire. Most of the time, the stories get filed away, but it has no concept of the alphabet. So it's a work in progress. You know, what are you going to do? Anyways, I'm trying to give it equal opportunity. I'm trying to give this little thing a job. And hopefully, as fast as it's growing, it doesn't kill and eat me and my family. But anyways, I got a story that was similar to that. And this was out of Florida. And somebody had told me that they had one that was in their backyard. And this thing was growing, like within 3 months, it was like 2 or 3 feet bigger. Like they must grow really fast. And I thought, that's crazy, you know, and I just kind of filed it away under, numbnuts file, whatever. And I'm joking. But anyway, I just thought this could be something. Maybe there's a thread here. So when I pulled this story out of Round Rock, I thought, well, this is crazy. Because I don't know if the lady said that it was 2 to 2.5 feet tall. This kid said it was, as a kid, of course, it said it couldn't have been more than 1.5 feet. It was a very small creature. So for it to have been that tall already within 2 months, maybe these things grow really, really fast. Maybe they fill up on fruit and small rodents or whatever, and then they get bigger, then they eat bigger types of... I don't know what they do. The one that I have, I only give it bread and water. And not even good bread either. I'm going to give it the good stuff. I'm going to give it Wonder Bread. So anyways, this thing stood up, looked at her. She don't remember a tail or anything like that. And it just kind of hissed at her and then got down and ran back into the woods. There was no further altercations or any other encounters with this thing. But her and the neighbor got to talking, and next thing you know, they're comparing notes, and they're like, I think I saw this little white thing looking creature. Smooth looking skin, almost looked kind of amphibian. I don't know. You tell me what you think. Somebody says amazingly dumb. No, it's amazing dumb, not amazingly dumb. Wow, that's amazingly dumb. No, it was called Amazing Dumb. So I am planning on making a trip in October to the Jefferson, Texas Bigfoot conference. So if anybody's going to that, hope to see you there. I'm not going to be speaking or anything like that, but a bunch of my friends are going to be going, and Barton and his wife are supposed to be coming down. So that should be a lot of fun. Marquetta, I see you, Marquetta. I actually mailed your stuff off today, along with several other people, Marquetta, so you should be getting yours pretty soon. Like always, this show will be dropped on the PRT Paranormal Round Table group chat, group thing, whatever it is, on Facebook, and we will choose somebody that leaves a comment to win some stuff. Barton Nunley has now taken over Paranormal Encounters for Mushu, because Mushu admittedly just did not have time for it. He's busy working, and he's trying to start a gaming deal, and so he's got his own stuff going on, and he basically just was like, I don't have time for this, and been kind of like that for a while, and so we gave Paranormal Encounters to Barton Nunley, and Barton is now the admin of that group. And I sent invites to a lot of different people. If I haven't invited you yet, go check it out. It's called Inhumanoids with Barton Nunley. And me and Barton are about to start a project together where we do about a dozen interviews, and then we're going to release them all at one time. And if you have a Dogman story that you would like told, I am beginning the book. Literally starts tomorrow. And we hope to have it done by Christmas. People are like, oh, that's not enough time to write a book. Yes, it is. We got the Dogman conference done in 4 months. See, that's how it works. When you want to do something, you get it done. You know, if you really want to get it done. And if I want to get something done, I get it done. People say, oh, yeah, well, what about this and this and that? You know, I didn't want to do those things, obviously. Somebody tried to chide me the other day. I was like, as I said, I got on a motorcycle one time, and I wrecked and never got back on it. Well, why didn't you do that? I was like, because I don't want to die. It's not something I wanted to do. It scared the crap out of me, and I'm not going to do it. I ran into a ditch. Never got on one again. It's the end of that. Kevin Scott, your grandfather saw 2 dogmen. Hit me up because I'm putting the stories together in my book. And I just want to make sure that there's nothing I'm leaving out, I'm leaving on the table. It could be, I could have a great story sitting out there and I need to put it in there. Could be, or could be not too. So, anyways, you give me your ideas, what you think those little things were. A tiny rake? I don't know. I got another quick Dogman story for you. I mean, it's not quick, but it's not super long. And this one came to me out of Georgia. And this was at a grocery store, and I can't remember the name of the grocery store, but this was like in Augusta, I think. This person said that they were a kid. They were we'll call him Mac. And he told me that it was him, his older sister, and his older brother. And they were all about 2 years apart. And I think he said he was the youngest at like 12 or something. And his brother was like, whoa, check it out. And so in the back of a dually, I don't know if you know what a dually is. It has the 4 tires and like in the back and then 2 in the front. And he said it was a big truck. And it was like a tarp kind of hung like over the back of something in the back of the truck. And they said that they could see like something kind of move underneath the tarp or whatever. And his brother, being kind of the way he was, just decided to pull the tarp back. And they see this thing that looked like, and he said this was in 1998. Okay. And he said that, dude, this happened in 1998. Same thing. It was a summertime thing. It happened I guess in September or whatever. And he said that his brother pulled his tarp back and his sister gasped and he went and he looked and he stared at it until he got overcome with fear because it twitched like it moved. But he said it looked like a hyena type creature laying in the back of this truck. Okay. And he said you could see it, like the back legs, everything looked kind of hyena-like, but the front part, it had like an appendage. It looked like an arm and it was laying on its side and there was blood coming out of his mouth. Like it had been killed or something. But then its leg kind of jerked and they jumped back and they ran. They scattered. And it was in the evening. And he said that they all took off, and his, older brother was the one driving. He didn't have a license, and they were driving his great aunt's car or something. And so they had to scramble, and they took off. And he said, dude, we were kicking ourselves. We didn't get a license plate. All we saw was that it was a red truck. And this thing was laying in the back of a red dually. Don't know who it belonged to, nothing. He said, dude, it haunts me to this day. He goes, I had nightmares about it. He goes, I had dreams that it was popping up and trying to attack me, and it was just laying there in the back of the truck. And so hopefully I can get him to talk to me in Barton about this. And so, yeah, that would be an interesting, to hear it in his own words. There's really not much else to the story, but it's crazy. And like this person, he claims that, he's never seen anything like it again or since, but he had looked for years and he heard me on Dogman Encounters like a long time ago. And he was like, dude, I wanted to tell you this story. Somebody said, do I know anything about John from Dogman Encounters yesterday, or from Dogman Cams? John Bell, is that who you're referring to? I know John. Do y'all want me to find out? I don't know. If enough people tell me to find out, I guess I can reach out. I don't know. Okay. Thank you for that donation. Everybody that's donated, thank you so much. Kim, Lunar Eclipse, Darkseed, North Carolina Cryptids, thank you. Madeline, Sepulveda, Plutonium, Loach, thank you all of you for donations. They're not expected, but they are appreciated for sure. So truth. Truth, if you know how to get a hold of him, let me know. I'm asking right now. See if we get an answer. Oh yeah, me and Scorpion on Tearing the Woods or whatever. Madeline says, "Hi Josh, best wishes to you, Nelly, and the PRT team. I can't wait for the next conference. Do you have any stories from Puerto Rico? My mom was born and raised there." Yeah, actually I went over a bunch of them 8 months ago with Nick Redford. He's a good friend of mine. And of course he was at the conference, and you probably met him there, Madeline. But we went over a bunch of stories that I'd gotten. I gave him a few to look through. About the chupacabra. I think it was him and Ken. They've done a lot of work on that. Plutonium Loach says, "Dig the intro song. I bet a bunch of Dogmans rave to your intro in the fourth dimension." So give me your opinions on what you think this thing was in the back of that truck. It's crazy. One of the stories about Puerto Rico, which is interesting, it kind of mirrors Artistic Bunny. Thank you for that donation. Dogman Rave Party. One of the interesting things about that story, it's very it's very interesting. Because you're looking at, okay, like the Dogman story we're talking about, okay? It seems like it was a flesh and blood creature, which people are always saying, well, you say it's metaphysical, but like I've said before, I've spent time talking to Linda Godfrey about this, and we came up with our own idea. And Linda had been talking to Barton for a long time, and they both kind of agreed, and so did I, that when it comes into our world, it has to be, it passes from the fourth density into our density, and it's a spiritual entity that's kind of a hybrid between spirit and flesh, but then the longer it stays on our plane of existence, the more flesh it becomes, and it can pretty much do everything that a flesh creature can do. Be killed. Madeline says, "Nice. I've heard of the jungles in Puerto Rico and how people disappear all the time. That is something that I've heard." I had a weird story. I'm trying to remember. It was a Dogman story out of Puerto Rico, and I could tell you this one. I don't want to go into a bunch of detail, but it was basically, it's something that I think I had talked about on Dogman Encounters. Kim, thank you for that donation. We appreciate it. It was people working in a sugarcane plantation. and they were getting snatched up by these creatures, and in particular, there were like 3 different ones. They were Dogman looking creatures, and there were always like 3 of them, and they were snatching up like the workers. I mean, broad daylight. It was happening in broad daylight, and of course the company was trying to downplay it because they didn't want people freaking out and being like, "Don't go work there. There's werewolves eating people," because who the heck's going to say that, But there were 2 people that had reached out to me, and I talked to them separately. They knew they were friends. They weren't. It wasn't like just that would be a really crazy coincidence at the same time. But no, they knew each other, and that was the story I got. But I never was able to follow up too much with it. It just could have been a rumor. I mean, a lot of things are rumors. Bernard Fox, what's up, buddy? I sent your stuff out too. I signed your Tumblr for you. The other thing I was going to say too, I mean, like, speaking of rumors, and I'm not going to put much time into this, okay, but there are a couple people who are just working night and day, overnight. I mean, they are putting in overtime hours to try to spread this information, downing me, downing Bettina, and just going after us. Couple guys just got nothing better to do. They're just hardcore, angry, ticked off. They don't work. So, when you don't work, you have time to sit around and type and mess with people, and you can say all kinds of stuff, and you can look up all kinds of fun facts. And, when you don't work, I mean, you can figure it out who they are. Their names start with an R. I'm not going to give them much more time than that, because I don't think that's, and it's a shame because one of them really needs to be nailed for all his underhandedness. But I'm just going to let it go because, what good is it going to do? Hold on one second, folks. Work stuff. Somebody's over here telling me how to do my business, run my business. Always nice. When you tell somebody, you give them advice and they don't take a lick of it, and then they come back and something happens, and then they want to somehow say that, well, it's all the bottom line, and it's, you blah, blah, blah. We do this for a living, not this, but my job. I do it as a living. It's not a hobby. It's pretty ridiculous. And they want to give me suggestions on how to run my business, or tell my people how they should do their job. That's Matt Keene. He says, I'd like to know what is stalking me this time. Is full physical or not, so I could get rid of it or not. Okay. Matt, we can talk about that. Like we said, I've just been super busy, but I have not forgotten about you, and I will get to your stories. I will talk to you. Thank you for the donation, Matt. I appreciate it. Plutonium Loach says, when I was little, lived in a haunted apartment. One time I looked under the crawl space. I saw a skull with neon green flames deep in this crawl space. Very intriguing. Wanted to go after it, but didn't. You wanted to go after it? Was it a head by itself? Because if it was, hit up Jason Bland, because he's been looking into that for a while. Jason's got like a great story he told on my show. He's been on the live stream and we recorded together. We went in depth about his, like a flying head type thing, and I gave a couple stories on there. All I'm going to say, though, people keep asking me about these people. One of the things I'm going to say about it is that one of them goes around pretending like he's, always in bad health, and that's all, it's just. So, yeah, anyways, my friend Ann just messaged me. She reminded me of something that happened, and I'm sure my wife, if she's watching, will be laughing. We were at the Tower of the Americas, and we had been walking, and the top of my right foot was hurting really bad. I don't know what was going on, and Nellie's back was hurting. She's got a back injury. And so, Ken, obviously, he's small, and he's svelte, and he can run around and move, and he's like, hey, man, why is everybody all dying? We've just been walking around since this morning. And he's fine. He's ready to go. Other than my foot, I was good. But Ken could just but I was like, hey, dude, let's take this rickshaw. So this little bitty dude, and I'm not joking. Like it did not seem like it was going to go well. But I'm always down to do fun stuff. And this guy says I can take you. We'll just have to sit in laps or whatever. But I can take all four of you. I said, sir, I'm 360 pounds. He says, don't worry, I can take you all. So I really was shocked. He rode us from the Tower of the Americas to the River Center Mall, which is over half a mile. And he was just pouring sweat when he got done. I gave him a good tip. But it was hilarious because I was like, are you okay? The guy's like, I'm fine, okay. And the thing didn't break. It didn't come loose, and then we just go, rolling away. It just, and we were fine. We made it to the River Center Mall. And then we ended up going to the wrong garage to find my truck, and of course we had to run all over the place. And we found the right garage, and it was just a big mess. But we had fun. We had a blast. We went to the Manger, which is a haunted hotel. We went and had a couple drinks. Nothing alcoholic, actually. None of us drank. We just had a good time. But the guy actually drove us all the way. And I thought for sure this guy was just, and he was like, I'm good. And we just kept going. So that was fun. And he was like the last one out there. I mean, it was already like close to midnight. And so we had a blast. It was a good time. I wanted to say something else too before I bring my guest on. When I was at the UFO conference, one of the things that bothered me, there were these three kids that interviewed me, and they were real wide-eyed, and they were real cool. Hey, we want to get an interview with you, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. So they have a little podcast they're starting up, and they're real enthusiastic. And then there was another young guy who had come up there, and he wanted to interview me. And he was real enthusiastic. And we were talking. And I was actually talking to Ryan Edwards, the author. He's a really, really good kid. I like Ryan a lot. He's really smart. And he's got a podcast now he's doing too. But this other guy came up and he was talking to me. And so I gave him a few minutes. And he says, do you have any suggestions about what I can do? And I said, dude, all you can do is just kind of feel your way through whatever. And he says, yeah, I'm just so eager. I want to work with everybody, and just, I want to just. And I said, that's not going to happen. And he says, well, what do you mean? I said, dude, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I was like you at one time. He's like, what, in your 20s? I said, yes, 3 years ago. When I started my show, I was bright-eyed and young and about 180 pounds and, in my 20s. You see how it's aged me? I'm 47 now. In 3 years, kid. 3 years, that's all it took. I'm kidding, all right, obviously. But no, what I told this guy, I said, you can try, but it's not going to work. Because anybody who's honest with you will tell you, oh, they're like, I get along with everybody. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's not going to happen. It's unfortunate because you have jealous, hating backbiters, and the bigger you get, people are going to come after you. It's just the nature of the beast and whatever game you're in. You know, my friend's got a gaming channel, same thing. It's just constant trolling and fighting and, you know, just all this backbiting, and it's crazy. You know, you wouldn't believe, and the same thing in the true crime world. Somebody was telling me they have a true crime deal, and I was talking to them the other day, and they're big into that, and they said it's the same thing. It's just constantly they're going after each other, and they're backbiting, and it's just the way it is. And whatever you get into, you're gonna. And I said there are gonna be people. I told this guy, I said, you're gonna be people. You're 20 something. You're 20 years old, whatever. I said, and they're gonna come after you once you get bigger. People that you work with, you'll work with them, and then the next week they're upset about something. They feel some kind of way about you. They're not going to agree with you. Pecan, thank you for that donation. Salahuddin says, stay strong. Josh, fan from the UK, thank you. Kyle McGinnis, have you heard any more stories of vampires in New Orleans? Listen to your 33rd podcast on vampires, and it was great. 33rd, huh? That's weird. Says here, Madeline says, my maternal great-grandmother is also from Puerto Rico. She was a white bruja, and so were the women in her family. She's going to be 96 or 97 this year. I like to try and get some stories from her before she passes. I'm sure she has tons. Yes, because I got my mom's stories from her. But I had all the time. I could have, you know, I thought I had more time with her. And I thought, you know, one day I'm going to record with her. I'm going to let her tell these stories, and I didn't. And then she passed. So get it before she's gone. It's a shame. But yeah, I told this young man, I said, it's not something that you can do. It's a shame because, you know, and he's like, well, I'm going to try and work with everybody. I was like, you can try. I thought the same thing. I'm just going to be cool with everybody. And then I ended up in a group where all they did was mess with people, especially women. For whatever reason, they were always attacking. Every time somebody got attacked in that group, it was a woman. And I got out of that group. And then they all came after me. And I'm sick and tired of people saying that Bettina is only where she's at because she's a black female. Let me tell you something. She actually does good work if you watch her show. And I'm sick of the attacks on her. And one man in particular who's been throwing my name around too, him and his buddy, who's both their names start with an R. Okay. Not going to get into it, but they just want to attack us, and they just keep coming and keep coming, throwing Barton's name around, throwing my name around, and you're just mad. Cranky old men. Yeah, exactly. You know, they don't work. That's the thing. I mean, like, you know, all of us here, we have something we're doing. You know, I don't know, man. They need to get a hobby. Go find something to do. You don't got nothing better to do but just sit there and hate on people and then lie like, oh my gosh, these people could lie. Why are you, go write fiction. You're missing your calling, buddy. Both of y'all. Y'all could write fiction novels. You could be rich. You could be rich with creative fiction writing stuff. You know, instead of doing this. And then the community, you know, it's just, we got to suffer and we got to deal with it. And last night I had to be on the phone with these, you know, with a couple of ladies that were just distraught because of the things that they're saying and they're doing. And me and my wife had to talk, you know, and it's like, dude, these people don't stop. If you took all that energy, and one of them has talent, he's just lazy. He's a very lazy man. I can tell you that right now. When he shows up to record, he does a good job, but he doesn't want to do it. He's lazy, unmotivated, no ambition, no will to feed it. So I'm just going to hate on, you know, people who do. And goes around, you know, creating a narrative that he's a nice guy, and he's not. You know? But they got nothing better to do. They got no time, you know, nothing going on in their lives. So then we have to deal with that. Carl King says, B. Moss is great. I don't appreciate people talking about my buddies like her and Barton Nunley. Not cool. Hate on people. I get treated like garbage at work. I just want to explode. Don't do that. Don't explode. Okay. And Carter says, Bettina's great and I love her show. She had a great interview with Dark Waters. When was that? When did that happen? I'd like to listen to that. And if you haven't heard, Dark Waters actually made a post about me, which I was very thankful for. He said that, and congratulated me on the conference. Because, we here at PRT, we're a family. We work together. And what people don't understand is my audience is filled with, which I believe is some of the smartest people in this whole field. And I'm thankful that this is a meeting place for a lot of people, for authors, for podcasters, for researchers. This is kind of the hub. It's becoming that. And there's a change afoot. And it's coming. There's big changes being made. The conference was what I thought was the end. It was going to be kind of like the feather in the cap. Goodbye. I'm going to go. Whatever. No, it's the beginning. I've been, and I was going to bring this up. Anthony reminded me. Paranormalitymag.com, I believe, is the address. Anthony, if you could put the link up on the deal, if you could go and vote for me. I'm in the 40 category for Podcast of the Year. If you guys could vote for me, I'd be greatly appreciated. Anybody who who watches the show. Yes, Beast Titan Josh, thank you for inviting What Lurks Beneath. What an awesome collaboration. Me and him actually talked earlier today. So I sent out a package to him, and we are going to be doing a collaboration again real soon. Me and Barton are going to do a thing with him. I'm going to be on his show too. West Coast Dogman Project says, why can't we all collaborate and bring light to Dogman or the cryptids instead of bringing others down? I never understood this in the 9 months of being in the cryptid community. You've been in there for the 9 months? Well, welcome aboard. You will learn, because there are certain people who have absolutely no interest in getting along. They don't have any interest in working together. Their interest is in subterfuge. That's it. So, I got time. I'm going to give you a ghost story. This one's pretty cool, actually. I mean, it's not cool. I mean, like, if it happened to you, you're not going to be like, that was cool, man. This thing almost killed me. No, but if you hear it, and it's scary. And so this girl, we were at this German restaurant the other night, and Sunday evening or afternoon, whatever. She's a really good kid, and she was talking to me and Nellie. And Curtis Turner, thank you for that donation. It says, she's like, I want to be scared. I want to be scared. But then she talked to us and said, well, then I had this weird encounter in my apartment, and it freaked me out. And I went to sleep with a hoodie on, and I heard the thing zipping up and down, and it sounded like somebody was messing, like somebody was there. Then it's not so fun because it's scary, right? Well, anyway, I got this ghost story, and I guess it was a ghost story, but these guys were fishing on the Canal River, right outside of New Braunfels. And this story was kind of creepy, and I thought it was interesting because we were talking about the canal, and of course that area right there where they were at is about 20 miles, maybe roughly. I'd say not even quite 20 miles, 15 to 20 miles from the Hernandez area, or from the closest edge of their property, from their neighbors, I guess. But if you go into the heart of the Hernandez Ranch, yeah, I mean, that whole area, there's a big swath of territory right there that was once there, and now it's there, it's somebody else's or whatever, but it's the same vicinity. But these guys have no idea about any of that. They were just a couple of guys out there fishing, and they see this woman on the other side of the creek, like a river, but there was like a little spot that kind of spun off from it. And this happened back in the late 90s too. And they were walking along the area that kind of jutted off, and it kind of went into a little pool where the fish would kind of get stuck. So it was easier to catch. And it was like after a strong rain, And So when they were walking along, they see this woman on the other side, and she was dressed like she was from the 1800s or something. And they were like, why, this woman? And she's just walking along, and she's like dipping, some sort of like a ladle-looking thing into the water, drinking the water straight out of the river, which is something nowadays you wouldn't do. It's not a polluted river, but it's just not something you would do. And she had one of those big dresses on. She was kind of lifting it up to not get wet, whatever. And she looks over at him, and she stares at him, and they're just staring at her, and then they wave at her, and she doesn't wave. She just kind of makes a face like she's staring at him. Then she begins to walk along the what they thought was the bank, but as they watched more closely, they could see that the water was not moving as she was walking across the water. She was walking on the water, or like kind of moving over it. And they were like, dude, this is freaking crazy, man. So the one guy, his name was Kenneth, he was sitting there watching, and he was like, I don't know the other guy's name, but he asked his friend, he said, are you seeing this? He goes, yeah, I'm seeing this. So they got kind of freaked out, started walking back the other way, and she even walked out onto the water and then kind of went back. And the water, she didn't go into the water. She didn't sink into the water. And then as she got toward the tree line, she just kind of vanished, like, whew. I said it looked like, like the way that they described her was like a German settler from the late 1800s. Had her hair pulled back, and everything. It's a freaky story, I mean, it's a weird thing. I don't know what it was, but that was just, I thought, man, that's crazy. But yeah, so anyways, let's get to the guest here. We're gonna call up somebody, like we do every Tuesday, and we're gonna talk about some stuff. Like I said, I mean, if it happened to you, you might be, hey, that's cool, but these guys were kind of freaked out, and it kind of ruined their fun because they were just like, dude, what the heck was that? It's not. So let me get to this. Hello? Okay.
Hello?
Hey, Dave, you there?
Yeah, man. Sorry, I don't know what happened. I was trying to answer it.
Okay. All right. So Dave, it's Josh Turner, and with PRT. So obviously, you know what's going on here. We want to ask you if you would like to extend your car's warranty. Is that something you'd be interested in?
What?
It's Josh Turner, man. PRT. I'm messing with you, Dave. Dave Spinks, everyone. This is Dave Spinks. He's written a book, and I'm here to talk about it, not talk about his car's extended warranty. All right, so Dave, you've written a book, The West Virginia Dogman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ken, a mutual friend of ours, he wrote the foreword for your book.
Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I guess I just want to know, tell us what you got, man, about this. Tell us about your book. Tell us a little about yourself. Introduce yourself to the audience and those who may not know who you are.
Well, like you said, my name's Dave Spinks. I've been investigating and researching the paranormal and the supernatural for over 30 years now, due to my own experiences I had as a young man. And, you know, I do everything. I don't just do UFOs or cryptids or hauntings. I do everything because I feel a lot of this stuff crosses over in some way, shape, or form at some time. And as investigators, you know, we need to look outside the box looking in at these things and in order to try to find a little piece of the puzzle. So you got to take different aspects of it and see where it matches up. And Dogman, you know, is one of those things that is just fascinating to me. And you know, it's the history behind these Dogman sightings just goes way, way back to the Epic of Gilgamesh and even farther in some aspects. And there's so many different cultures and with different diversities and backgrounds that talk of these type of creatures. It's hard to ignore. You can't just ignore it. You know, it goes way back, and it's fascinating stuff.
And when you're talking about the Epic of Gilgamesh, now I know a lot of people may not know what that is, but my audience maybe does. Do you want to explain to the audience a little bit about what that is?
Well, it's just writings from way back before Christ times. You know, it talks about different creatures and whatnot. I don't know too much about Gilgamesh himself, other than he was some type of king or whatever. But there was these famous writings and talks about giants and dogmen and all kinds of things. But you know, there's writings in there that have folklore that have to do with Dogman.
Mm-hmm. And
you know, these things go back even to you know, an ancient race of beings known as the Cynocephali. I mean, there's just so much historical stuff out there, and these sightings are going on daily all around us. And that my book, you know, is specifically, it's got a little bit of everything in it, but it's specifically, you know, based off of West Virginia sightings and some of the historical occurrences that have happened here, not only with a stand-up werewolf / dogman type creature that walks on two legs, but not only that, it's, you know, we're steep in lore here with what we call the snarly yow and the white thing and these black dogs and, you know, hellhounds and the whole 9 yards. There's several different names for various wolf creatures here in West Virginia. And there's some very, very compelling historical accounts that happened here in the 30s and 40s as well.
So going back to what you said, though, about the Epic of Gilgamesh, a lot of people believe that his friend, the Enkidu, was a Bigfoot type creature. Now, I don't remember exactly if it said anything about Dogman, but I know that the story, it comes from ancient Mesopotamia, where there are legends of these Dogman creatures. In fact, there was an entire city that was supposedly destroyed by these dog-headed creatures. I don't know if you know about that story.
Oh yeah. I mean, you come across some of these tidbits, you know, when you're researching these things. And in the Gilgamesh epic, you know, it talks about him turning down a previous lover due to her once turning a previous mate she had into a wolf in a fit of rage. So he turned her down because he was scared that she would turn him into a werewolf or a dogman or a wolf, you know. So, you know, when you have those little tidbits like that, it's kind of fascinating how far back these type of stories go.
Yeah, and there's stories. He was kind of an epic adventure, sort of like Hercules or you know, like Achilles. He was sort of like one of those. I believe he was like a Nephilim, you know, and he was from that lineage. You know, he was one of those. And there was another being, I think, that they talk about the flood. That's another thing that's in the Epic of Gilgamesh, and it's really interesting how it ends too. Like I remember, like when they die. You know, this was the time before Christ, so when you died, the best you could hope for is to sit at a long table and eat ash. And it was pretty, you know, it was a pretty grim, you know, like, well, that's about as good as it gets, you know. I mean, that's what happens. But I do believe that there is a lot of truth to that. Now, somebody had said that it's the oldest history story, but it's actually not. It's actually the Tamil culture, and the stories from that are older. They predated even. It's pretty crazy. It's still around. Whereas the Mesopotamian culture is no longer there, nor is the Sumerian. It's all become, something else. It became Babylonian, then it became Persian, and then it's, kind of faded away. Yeah, and on and on and on.
The Greeks, they have a very famous, story that this father and his sons fed Zeus or Saturn, whichever way you want to run with it, a sacrificed boy, and he got pissed and changed them all into wolves. Mm-hmm. And it was King Lycan, I believe it was.
King Lycan, yeah.
Yeah, so there's all these stories, and they cross cultural barriers, and it just goes on and on and on right up to modern times. So when as a researcher, when I see these type of things, because I'm a firm believer that the old peoples, the ancient peoples, they drew and wrote and painted what they saw. That's how they told their stories, And to me, it holds a lot of credibility, even in all aspects of investigations, because that's how they chronicled their history, So, and even up into more modern times with Native Americans, they're oral. Most of them are oral traditions, and they pass them down generation to generation. So you have to take those into account.
Yeah, absolutely. So in your book about the West Virginia Dogman, do you talk about the Epic of Gilgamesh? And do you start with that? Or?
No, I just give a little, brief examples of how far back in history some of these reports and people talking about these things go. Mostly it gives you some history on these things, different aspects with King Lycan and other things like that. And there's reports by famous explorers like Marco Polo and stuff that talk of this ancient race of Dogman creatures that say they were a fierce warrior tribe and they ate people, when it suited them, and
they were mercenaries.
They lived in such remote places that they were very hard to find and kill.
Yeah, supposedly they lived up in the mountains. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty fascinating when you see those type of writings. You're going, wait a minute here, So yeah, I mean, this stuff goes way back, man, and and there's all kind of different theories as to werewolves and dogman type creatures. Are they some type of evil demonic creature? And you can even go way down the rabbit hole and go into were these things some sort of extraterrestrial race of dog-headed man-like creatures, So there's a lot of different ways you can run with it.
Yeah, I was just making sure because I'm writing my book, so I wanted to know if you had raised the bar to where I needed to start talking about all this stuff too. So,
well, I do talk a little bit about that because. Let's face it, the Egyptians had it, the Greeks had it. I mean, so many different cultures have it. Native American, various tribes have similar stories, not exactly the same, but a lot of them are similar and many different. Many aspects are different in various cultures and belief systems, but, it's fascinating to me. It's, and the wolf in itself is a fascinating creature because it's way up there, high on the predator list. It's a very smart and cunning animal. And, if you have a wolf and a man combined, that would be a formidable animal or being to have to defend yourself against,
Yeah, and I have a question for you. So you have in your research explored all these different avenues. And we haven't talked about this, Dave, just so the audience knows. This is, we have only corresponded through Messenger. We haven't actually spoken about any of this. So I went in cold with this, and I got your information from Ken. And so I saw that you wrote this book about West Virginia, and I do get people in Virginia and West Virginia asking me about stories from that region. In your book, The West Virginia Dogman, you cover accounts from people that have seen this creature in West Virginia?
Absolutely. That's what I would say the bulk, if not half or more of the book is about that specifically. So that's why I label it the West Virginia Dogman, because there's just some crazy encounters that have been reported, and I don't want to go too in depth on it because I want people to read the book, obviously, but I'll give you the long and short of some of the things that happened in Webster County here in the 30s and 40s. There was they called it the Blue Devil Encounters, and it was a bluish, it was so black that when the moonlight hit this thing, it looked blue, like the moonlight shone off of this thing's fur, and they called it the Blue Devil. So there was all these people's livestock were being ripped apart, and all these different things were going on. A couple of people were attacked by some kind of creature they couldn't really describe, but they gave kind of roundabout descriptions because they were attacked at night. But it caused a frenzy and it caused a panic in that county. And, they said, they even put a bounty out on this thing that was over $400, which equals about $7,300 in today's money. And there was roving bands of hunters out chasing this thing, and it went on for several years. And the only thing the hunters ever caught was a very large gray wolf, but it wasn't anything like the encounters that were being reported, by people seeing this 7 to 9 foot tall dog-like creature running on 4 legs and then standing up and running on 2 legs and everything else. And it had all the characteristics that we call today as a werewolf. So, and that's just one of them. And then, after the reports went down, then the thing came back in another county. So, the same thing actually happened again in another county, and so you have all these things going on, and this was over a wide bunch of years. So when you have that going on, you have to take a hard look at that, because most people in West Virginia, I've said this on TV shows and stuff, most boys, specifically in West Virginia, grow up hunting and fishing from the time they can walk with their dads and their grandpas and everything. And they know what's in the woods. And when you got people that know what's in the woods seeing this type of creature, something really supernatural may be going on here, or it's some type of, barring it's not some type of ET or whatever the case, but, there's something that's going on here. And these reports are all over the state, even up to today. I just got a weird giant wolf report from a week and a half ago from a credible witness. So, it's an ongoing thing. I've investigated several cases myself here in the state. One from a prosecuting attorney. I can't say which county because we don't want his privacy out. But and we've had some weird tracks and some other things going on. So I've never seen one. I don't know if I want to see a creature like that, but myself personally, I feel I saw what we call the white thing here in West Virginia one night about several years ago when I was coming home from work before I retired from law enforcement. It was a real foggy night in this mountain we call Powell's Mountain here. It's the second highest spot in West Virginia. Super foggy, I was going like 20, 25 because it was that foggy. You could only see like 20 feet in front of your vehicle. Had my flashers on so no one would rear end me. And out of nowhere, from the right side of this 4-lane, this humongous white wolf comes right out in front of my truck about 15 feet. And I was able to stop because I was only going 25. And me and him had a brief stare off. Felt like forever to me, but it was probably only 15 to 20 seconds. And it had glowing yellow eyes. I'll never forget that. And the thing's back was almost as tall as back then I had a Dodge Dakota truck. And the back of it was it probably lacked an inch from being level with my hood of my truck. And it just turned and walked off. So, many people have reported that type of wolf creature. Now, we know The timber wolves are finally making a huge comeback, but here in West Virginia, they were hunted to extinction many, many years ago, early to mid 1800s, except for the one that was killed in Webster County. So that could have been one that, migrated down from, up in northern North America, Canada or something. But, there's no wolves around here that we know of. Now, there's plenty of coyotes now, but back in those days, people killed everything they saw because they didn't want those things messing with their livestock, So we do know that DNR in the past 15 years has put wolves or coyotes back in West Virginia. So, but what I saw was definitely not a coyote.
Yeah, it was on two legs.
No, it was a normal on four legs, looking like a normal wolf, but massive.
And so, and it was white. You said it was all white?
White. Yes. Pure white.
And so, did it look like a prehistoric type creature, maybe, or something?
No, it just looked like the biggest wolf you can imagine, man.
Wow, I wonder what that was. Like a freak.
It didn't snarl at me or do anything. It just looked right at me, and just stared. We had a little stare down for a few seconds, and then it just turned and walked off the road. And I was like, holy crap, did I just see that,
It didn't talk to you?
No talking.
It didn't go, and what? I can't be a white wolf and walk off? It didn't do that? No.
Right. Yeah.
So you saw this thing. What year was that, David?
That was like 2008, I think, or 9. I was still, in law enforcement back in those days, and that was coming home on a midnight shift.
And what inspired you to write a book about Dogman? Like, what was the inspiration? Like what made you start, trying to learn about it?
Well, I mean, as doing what I do, man, I've been doing this stuff for 30 years, and I'm fascinated by all topics in it. But there's been a lot of weird wolf and dogman sightings in West Virginia, and I really looked around, and no one had written a book about it. So I said, hey, I'm going to write a book about that, and I've done a few investigations into them myself. So, I talk about those investigations and other people's accounts and some of the bigger historical, like, scary things that went on when there was, whole counties involved in hunting these various wolf creatures and whatnot. And some of the folklore legends that we have too, like the snarly yow and the devil dog, and all that stuff. To me, it's all kind of cool. It's all Wolfman and wolf stuff.
David, hello. We lost you for a minute. We lost you for a minute there. You said wolf stuff, and then it kind of faded away.
I just think it's cool and creepy, is what I said. All this wolf stuff and all these reports, the folklore, the historical accounts here in the Mountain State, and the modern encounters that are still going on to this day. So, and I saw that no one had written a book on it. So about West Virginia specifically, and so I decided to take on that project myself and do it.
So how much are you selling the book for? How much does it go for, and how big is it? Like how much?
Well, it's getting ready to get released here in the next week or two. It's not even out yet. Yeah. So it'll be like $20.
Yeah. And what is it, like 200 pages, 250?
We'll see when it's done.
Yeah. Well, let me know, because I'd definitely like some copies of it, and then you could sign them and I could give them to my audience. And definitely let me know.
Yeah, and it was a cool treat to have, Ken write a little forward for it and stuff. And
oh yeah, he's a good author.
Yeah. So, it's just one of those things I wanted to do. I try to talk about as many aspects of what I do, to include all aspects of my investigations. And I have done a few dogman investigations here in the state, with the prosecuting attorney and a couple others over the years. But, it's a fascinating topic. It's, and I don't know, about you, but werewolves are, crazy. So, you grow up watching these Hollywood movies of these things, and you're saying, wait a minute, people are seeing these actual type of creatures running around. and then you start digging into it and say, holy crap, the history goes way back for thousands of years on these type of creatures. I mean, you look at the god Anubis, in Egyptian history, and he had a dog head, or more of a jackal or whatever, but still, it's still similar. It's very, very similar in a body of a man. So you kind of look at that and go, what's going on here?
Well, when you get the book out, I'll buy your first 10, and so I can give those to my audience and just sign it. Thanks for listening to the best show ever, obviously, PRT. And then I'll give them. So
we got some good contributions in the book too. I don't want to leave those guys out. So we got Dr. Raymond Keller did a cool contribution. He's a PhD from WVU University. He's an OG in the supernatural and paranormal and UFO world. Him and Gray Barker were buddies since they were teenagers. Mm-hmm. And then you got Jody Cook contributed some cool accounts from the NADP, from that he had in his records from West Virginia. So we got a good compilation of people contributing and just putting this thing together. So I think it's going to be a good little book.
No, that's awesome. I'm glad that you. So let me ask you this, Dave. You said you're still getting stories, like you're still researching. Like you're not done because you wrote a book. This is
never done, brother. Never done.
And let's get back to what we were talking about, like, because you had mentioned something that struck a chord with me about the Anunnaki. Like you were talking. You didn't say the Anunnaki, but you were talking about Gilgamesh. And in my belief, Anunnaki is, Gilgamesh is one of them, and that's a form of the Nephilim.
Yes.
Yeah, and so how did you get into that? Like, how did you make the connection, and what do you think that these dogmen, give me your...
So what started me in all this madness, man, is I had a Bigfoot encounter with my grandfather when I was 13 here in West Virginia on the Gauley River. It changed my life, and then when I wrote my account in my first book called The West Virginia Bigfoot, and it's the same kind of setup as I did with this Dogman. It's my account plus accounts from state troopers, doctors, lawyers, school teachers, all walks of life here in the Mountain State, right? So when I was doing research, and I always like to give some historical data if I can in my books, so I started coming across, Gilgamesh stories, and it talks about, like you said earlier, Bigfoot and the Epic of Gilgamesh. So, I got a little tidbit in that book about Gilgamesh too, and the Nephilim. The Nephilim, if your listeners don't know, are the offspring of angels and human women, and they were said to be giants and were disgusting and vile creatures. So, according to the Bible and other texts, so even the natives talk about the giants that roamed the earth way back, and they said that they came up to their kneecaps. So it's pretty spooky stuff if you think about it. And then if you take into account that there's giant skeletons found all over the world, and a ton of them right here in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, some 10 feet tall, some 15, some 12, and immediately government agents would come in, swoop these things up, and never be heard or seen from again. So, what's going on here? And there's all kind of theories with the Dogman too. Are they some type of weird research project? If you read about the Nazis and stuff, they tried to create super soldiers, and they had a whole unit in the SS Waffen that were called the Dog Soldiers, basically. And there's werewolf cults all over the world that are active to this day. And some of them, it's just like vampire cults. They think they are actually werewolves, and some can transform into werewolves in the whole 9 yards. And I touch a little bit about that in my book as well. So there's just a lot to it. You could write whole books just off of, several of those little tidbits that I put in the book. So, it's just, I wanted to concentrate mostly on the West Virginia sightings and whatnot.
Yeah, but that's because that's your state. That's where you're located. Yep. So that's interesting. And so you got into it because you had a Bigfoot encounter. That's crazy. Have you written about that?
Oh yeah, that was the first book that was published of mine. It's called The West Virginia Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
That's my encounter. I also told that story on Terror in the Woods, and they recreated it. And of course, they added stuff that didn't happen and changed stuff around because that's TV. They lie, cheat, and steal. So,
yeah.
But when you sign those contracts, if you don't, that was the first TV thing I ever did, other than the news and different things. But they don't tell you that they can have free will with your stuff, and it's very disappointing. So whenever I do Bigfoot lectures and or at conferences and whatnot, I always tell people, one of the questions I ask is how many people saw that episode where I told about what happened to me and why I do what I do today. And most of the time it's half the room or 3/4 of the room raise their hands, and I said, remember, and I'll say, okay, remember this part and that part in the show? And they're like, yeah. I said, that never happened. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, because I try to teach people, I said, don't believe everything you see on TV. I said, you want the real story, read the book. That's where the real story came from. That's where the TV people heard about it. And then, they did their own thing with part of it. So, you have to be honest as a researcher or investigator. If you're not, your reputation's nothing. So, I believe in being honest 100%. And if they change something in my story, it's happened to me a couple of times. It really pees me off, but what are you going to do about it,
Yeah.
So it's aggravating. And that's the only reason, I've had contract in hand 2 different times. Well, actually 3 times for my own show. And I turned it down because I won't sell out. They'll tell you straight up, you might have to face stuff. And I said, well, I don't do that. And, I'm not going to do that. So you can take it or leave it, and they leave it because that's how TV is in the paranormal realms, guys.
So Michelle Milner is asking the question, what episode of Terror in the Woods is that?
It's called, okay, so if you don't know, when Travel Channel bought Destination America, the show was called Terror in the Woods. And it was, then on that one, it was episode 3. It's called Bigfoot and Ghost Cave. There's 2 episodes on each episode.
Yeah. Okay.
So the next one, then they changed it to These Woods Are Haunted on Travel. So it's actually on 2 different shows.
Yeah.
And so it's just look for the episode called Bigfoot and Ghost Cave. But it's my account and someone else's account of what they experienced. So it's it was cool being able to share your story like that and everything, but it was very disappointing when they acted like we stayed the night in the tent. We didn't stay the night, man. We got out of there. My grandpa was a preacher for 40 years, and it scared him to death. And you're talking about a man that stormed the beaches of Normandy in the second wave. He wasn't scared of anything. So, it's a pretty compelling story. It changed my life, and it's why I do what I do today. And I look into all aspects of these things. If I get reports on the daily. I have a store called Dave Spinks World of Weird now. It opened last Halloween. And people come in almost daily and give me accounts, and they're so relieved and happy that they have a place to come in. That they may have been holding on to this weird sighting they had for 30 years, and they can come in, they're safe, and they get it off their chest, and it's fascinating. So, that's just one way they do it, and I get calls all the time, and some of them that are new, that's when I go out and investigate. The newer the better, So if they had it yesterday, I'm hitting the road if it's a legitimate account, I think, and I head out, But so it's a never-ending job, hobby gone insane, if you will.
and so when you let me get back up a second here, like because I was on that show Terror and These Woods Are Haunted, and they did a pretty good job of recreating mine, but I was very because I gave them some witnesses or whatever, and they said, hey, we like to do your show story. And mine was the Church of the Forgotten. It was based on one of the episodes that I had done about an encounter that happened to me and some of my guards. The only thing I didn't like about it was the guy that they got to play me had a man bun. And yeah, and my wife was like, look, honey, you have a man bun here. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was just I was kind of disappointed. I don't think he was nearly as handsome as me, that's another disappointment there, but it's hard to be as handsome as me, though. They probably tried and they figured they just gave up. He didn't have my fanny pack, though. He should have had the fanny pack. Yeah, and my pink shorts that I wear, my rainbow shoes, they didn't have all that.
There you go.
I was very disappointed. I was very hurt by this. I was like, you people. I was out there protesting. I'm in Austin, so I had to.
Try to keep it as close to the actual story. That's what I care about. And, I mean, that's the best part. So. And
then at the end, they also, the church didn't look anything like it, but then they had Scorpion was like sitting there waiting for me. That ain't what happened. When I got there, he was running down the road. So he was all like, yeah, that's fine. We'll leave that part in there. I was like, yeah, of course, because it makes you not look as scared as you were. But we were both pretty terrified when it happened. At the time, it was a very scary thing. It was just like we ran out of guards to put there because nobody wanted to be there. And so my business partner, though, he's like, oh, yeah, I'll do it, And then it comes out later that he left at like 4 a.m. Yeah, sure. Whatever. I mean, we all left. I mean, it was a scary thing. But when you had your Bigfoot encounter, like you saw, what did it look like? What did this creature look like?
So at first we didn't know what it was because it actually threw 2 big rocks at us, like massive rocks, like something that a grown man couldn't get their arm completely around. The first one hit, and we jumped up, couldn't figure out, hit out in the river. We couldn't figure out what it was, and then we kind of calmed down after several minutes of, just giving up, trying to figure out what it was. And then the second rock, you could hear it clipping through the tree limbs, and I saw it out of my peripheral, my left eye, because of the direction we were facing. It came from back left of us from the other side of the river. And we both looked up because we heard it hitting the limbs, and we saw a big rock come down and hit in the water, and we jumped up. And long story short, this thing's raising Cain over there, letting out the most god-awful noises you can ever imagine, guttural howls and everything else, and shaking trees. And by the time it all went down, my grandfather yelled at me, he said, "Get to the truck, boy." And I was cowering behind the truck as he grabbed the old squirrel gun we keep with us for snakes and whatnot when we go fishing. And he's cracking off rounds over in that direction as fast as he can load and unload a single shot squirrel gun that we carried with us, And that thing's tearing down the woods, but we still couldn't see it because it was in the middle of summer, and the foliage is really thick here in West Virginia in the summertime on the river, especially. And then the thing started moving up and away from us because we were in a deep canyon over here. It's real treacherous on the side that thing was on. People don't even go there because they'll fall 100 feet to their death.
Wow.
And so as it came into this clearing is when I saw it, and it was, I saw it from the waist up. It had a little bitty head compared to its shoulders. Its shoulders were massive. And it was probably about 70 yards, maybe 65 yards from us at the most. But you could see the girth and mass on this thing, covered in brownish hair with kind of blackish stripes in it. And it never looked back. I never saw any facial features, but it was definitely walking on 2 legs, and it had really long arms swinging. And it was just, scared the living hell out of me. I mean, it changed me, And we tore out of there. Grandpa came running at that point because that's when apparently he saw it too. Same time I saw it when it came into the clearing. He grabbed me with one arm, slung me through the truck cab, and if the other side, if the passenger door would have been open, I would have went completely through the cab of the truck outside. That's how hard he chunked me in there. And he jumped in and said, "That's not of God, son. We're getting out of here." And he peeled out of there, and we're bouncing up and down in the truck, and I'm like, "Oh my God, he's going to break the truck down. That thing's going to come over here and kill us." It was just a terrifying thing for a 13-year-old kid. I mean,
what year
I had
was that?
nightmares about it for years, and I wouldn't go in the woods for several years after that. But
man, I don't blame you.
But after that's when I was terrified of it, but at the same time, I wanted to know, what is that? I know what I saw was it was a freaking monster or something. See, I didn't even know what a Bigfoot was in those days, man. Now, the old timers would always tell us, don't stay in the woods after dark because the wood boogers will get you. But we're thinking they're just messing with us. And then we're not, I never put 2 and 2 together that a wood booger is a Bigfoot till several years after my thing. I was like, that's what the heck they were talking about, the wood boogers, And I said, they weren't trying to scare us, apparently, because I know what I saw, So I started wanting answers then, and I started, going to the, school library, local library, because we didn't have the luxury of the internet back in those days, people. And I happened to start running across magazine articles. I saw a Life magazine that talked about the Yeti, and I saw, then I saw the old show with Leonard Nimoy In Search Of, and they happened to have a Bigfoot episode, and I was like, that's what I saw. Okay, other people are seeing these things all around the world. What the hell are they? So that's kind of what started me, and started doing different things, trying to read about them and research about them, and start, whenever I started going hunting several years later again with my friends, I, was always looking for sign, and you'd hear people talking about, see, I grew up out west too, and I would always come home to spend time with my grandparents on both sides of my dad, because my mom was remarried to a guy in the Air Force, and we were out in Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico. And so I'd hear stories about Bigfoots out in the Rockies and everything else. And then I started hearing stories from military guys when they were doing maneuvers. They saw a family or a group of Bigfoots were paralleling them at night while they were doing their exercises and stuff. And you start, it just goes on and snowballs over the years, and you just, go out and start investigating these things and look for a sign yourself. So
did the Bigfoot, did the stories you got from Bigfoot and your encounter, did that kind of lead to a natural, did it naturally just kind of lead you into the Dogman phenomena?
Well, Dogman is not, just doing paranormal investigating and supernatural cryptid investigations and UFO investigations. You get people calling in all the time or emailing all the time. Well, I saw this and I saw that. So, of course, over this many years of doing this, I'm bound to get some Dogman stuff, and that's what happened. I wasn't specifically setting out to just investigate Dogman, but when I got an account or a report from someone, and it was new, if it was within 48 hours, and they may have had some evidence, and I'd head out there, and check it out. And then I just decided it was about a year and a half ago, so I'm going to do a book on West Virginia Dogman, because there's just a lot of accounts over the years, and there's all these other wolf-type creature accounts. Why not? And no one's not ever done a book on West Virginia Dogman or, anything like that, so I did one. That's why I did it.
Do you think, another thing, too, I've wondered, because, they're mines. There's a lot of mines, right, in West Virginia?
Tons of them.
Yeah. So do you think, because I have a theory that, just because, where I'm from, there's a lot of caves, and we get stories, and I think that you get a lot of stories out of areas like Kentucky and Tennessee with the cave systems. Do you think that could be contributing to these sightings? Do you think that these things could be coming from the inner earth?
Well, sure. I mean, there's, same as Bigfoot. I mean, same with Bigfoot and other type of weird creatures. There's a lot of reports of, ant people, the natives call them, which are ETs, and all these other creatures like race and everything else coming out of these caves and these, places like that. And let's just say, take Bigfoot, for example. If it's just a weird missing link between man and ape, right? Just hypothetically, they're going to need cover. So a cave's a perfect place. Whatever creature is going to need cover. So, caves are perfect places to get out of the weather, get out of the rain, stay warm. I mean, we used them. Why wouldn't something like that use them? Bears use them to this day. Wolves, foxes, everything. Mountain lions. They all use caves because they need cover. So that's where they sleep, eat, breed, have babies, and the whole 9 yards. So,
yeah, David, somebody in the chat is asking if you have any stories of the gugwe. Do you know what that is?
The what?
The gugwe.
No, okay. I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, the gugwe, I've done a show or two on it. I did a show with someone else on their channel that was all about it. It is this creature that it doesn't have the backward hawk-like legs of the Dogman. It has straight humanoidal legs. It looks like a Bigfoot and everything but the face. And the face It has a shorter, like sort of a Dogman looking snout, but not totally wolf-like. That is what people are calling the gugwe, and they call it a face eater. If you haven't heard these stories, anything like that?
No, I have heard of that, the face eater one, and I think some Dogman accounts and some Bigfoot accounts are misidentifications of either or, you know what I mean? Vice versa, because there are reports out there of people thought they saw a Bigfoot, but when they give the description, they have a dog-like snout on them. So what is that? Is that a Dogman or this face eater or Gugwe, however you say it? Who knows? I'm a firm believer that there are all kinds of undocumented animals out there, cryptids as we call them. Because they're discovering new creatures on this planet literally daily, almost. The oceans are so unexplored. It was thought that the Kraken, which is a giant squid, was a myth, but lo and behold, the Japanese fishermen caught a 65-foot one. So it's there. There's stuff out there, and there's all kind of, who knows what the government's up to too, some of their projects,
Yeah, and a lot of people will poo-poo that, and they try to say that these things won't hurt you, and and also, are you of the opinion that these things can be metaphysical, or are they purely physical, or what do you think that they are?
Well, when it comes to werewolves and dogman-like creatures, there's all kind of theories, and there's old stories and old folklore that they could be conjured by some sort of evil witch. There's some type of demonic creature, kind of similar to, if you go the whole hellhound story, for example, where you make a deal with the devil at the crossroads, and then when your deal's up, he comes to collect. There's all kind of evil, demonic associations with werewolves and dogmen. But as of late, some of these 20 and back guys, these UFO guys, say they're 20 and backers, and that's a whole nother story in itself. But they say they encountered a dogman-like race of beings on other planets and fought them there and here on the Earth. So what are we dealing with here? And some of the accounts say, and these guys, several of them have talked about this, and they've all passed multiple lie detector tests before they were allowed on these shows. They were talking on the show about it. And, so what are we dealing with here? Are these some type of ETA, half and half creatures? Half AI, half freaking, flesh and blood, or are they an undocumented race of dogman type creature? Half man, half dog, half wolf, whatever. I mean, it's fascinating stuff, but it's all over the place right now. It's all over the place. So, and the dogman sightings seem to be growing in number all over the world, and even in the country itself.
It's crazy.
So, it's crazy, some of the accounts that are out there right now. And, unfortunately, we have a lot of hoaxers out there who like to use CG and stuff and create fake pictures and videos of these things. And it just makes, investigators' jobs even harder, because then you got to run any video or pictures through programs to see if they've been manipulated or whatever. So that's unfortunate, and that's in all aspects of cryptid hunting, whether it's Bigfoot or Dogman alike. But it's just the nature of the game, because people want to get famous and they want to make a lot of money, so they'll try to fake stuff, and that just hurts all of us, really.
Yeah, and one of the things you were saying, it's very interesting, because I met a woman back in 2000 when I was working as security for a computer company. And my buddy, who's actually one of the moderators, he told this lady there were two different companies. There was us, we worked directly for the computer company, and then there was another company that was there for the property management. And they were a different company, and their head of security, he told her that I had seen a werewolf when I was 15, because I didn't really know what a dogman was at that time, so I called it a werewolf because that's what I thought it was. And so I had to go to this woman and try to talk to her and say, hey, I know my friend said that, and without even batting an eye, she was like, it was an alien. And I was like, an alien. And so what I've come to learn, though, is ghost people think everything is some sort of spirit, and Dogman think everything is a Dogman, Bigfoot think everything's Bigfoot, UFO people think everything's an alien. Well, she was an abductee, and she had been abducted for years. And at that time, she was like in her late 40s, I believe, late 40s, and she had been abducted since she was like a kid. And so she said she was always sitting there playing solitaire. And I talked to her, and I told her, I said, well, my friend told you, you know, what I saw. And then when she said it was an alien, I just was kind of like, okay, why do you think that? Why do you say it's an alien? Well, when she started telling me about her abduction experiences, she said that there was a type of species, and this was like, I think she was probably the first one to ever tell me this, that looked like a werewolf. And, you know, she even described it like one of the, because she had gone to these meetings and met these other people and knew people from MUFON, and she said that one of the people that she had corresponded with told her that they saw these werewolf-looking creatures aboard a craft, and they had wolf-like heads, and they looked just like werewolves. And so I told her, I said, well, maybe that's what it was. Maybe it wasn't. At that time, I didn't really know, you know, and since then I've delved pretty deep into it, and I've gotten all kinds of different, you know, responses from people. And, and you mentioned Jody earlier. Me and Jody had a long conversation one day, and, you know, it's one afternoon we were talking, and he told me some stories that he had gotten through the NADP of these creatures being some sort of like intergalactic or, you know, whatever, because I did a show on called Celestial Bigfoot, but I thought about doing one called Celestial Dogman, because you get a lot of stories that come out of this weird, like, you know, these things being either walking through stargates, portals, or whatever, or even coming like coming to Earth with, you know, like from space, you know, from ships, you know. When I was at the UFO conference this past weekend, I didn't really get into it with anybody, but I talked to this one individual who, he is a firm believer that they are, you know, alien. We've corresponded since, and he believes that that's what they are. Of course, he is a UFO advocate. He believes that everything kind of is that way. But I've always wondered that, though, because I've gotten stories, like I did one on the mantis creatures, and one of the women that was going through this abduction experience with her boyfriend, they saw these two dogman-looking creatures standing by an opening, I guess, which was the doorway. They didn't go through it, or they can't remember going through it, but it was like they were sentinels. And I do believe that they could be some kind of, like you said, that there was some sort of intelligence there that was like maybe they were controlled. There could be some sort of like biological robots, so to speak, like kind of like the Greys. I've heard stories of them being mercenaries and being biological robots. What is your take on that? What is your take on the Dogmen?
I mean, for me personally, I don't ever say that something is definitely something.
Yeah. Kind of lost you there for a minute, Dave.
I do everything. And because the simple fact is, there's so many cases I've investigated over the years where, you know, there'll be a rash of, for example, UFO sightings in an area, and there's also a rash of Bigfoot sightings in that same area, or vice versa. So, you know, you as an investigator, you can't say for sure that it's this or that until you have the proper evidence, and that's with anything, you know. So, you know, you have to look outside the box looking in, because if you don't, you're doing yourself and everyone else a disservice, because, you know, you have to look at all aspects of these things. Yeah, they could be, you know, some ancient race of ETs. They could be some diabolical, demonic entity that was conjured up, or, you know, if you subscribe to the werewolf type curse situation. If you're bitten by one, then you'll turn into one if it doesn't kill you, that sort of thing. So you have to, investigate it with all things in mind, rather than saying, well, I know it's an ET for sure. Well, how are you going to prove that? Prove it first before you make up your whole synopsis,
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is.
Another thing that I've noticed, and this is kind of a theme, and I'd like your opinion on this, is oftentimes I'll get stories of reptilians or people, their faces being distorted in a reptilian way, especially involving these larger companies, and when these big shots will come down from Asia or Europe, and then they'll have Dogman activity or werewolf activity, I don't know, around the same time. Do you think there's a connection between those two, in your opinion, David?
Well, it's possible. I mean, if you look at all, you got to look at the common factors there. What's going on? Does it happen? How often does this thing happen? When they come in, when people come in and they're having the same scenario happen on multiple occasions, then yeah, you have to take a look at that as an investigator to see see what it is and what's going on with it. I mean, anything's possible at this point, right? I mean, like I said, I don't definitely say I know what this is or that is, because I don't, and anyone that does is full of it, really, until you can lay it down without a shadow of a doubt that here's the proof. This is why I know it is what it is. But that's just my take. That's how I do things. So I think it's all fascinating, and anything's possible at any given time. I think I'm a firm believer that there's a lot of things around us that we just do not understand at this point in our human evolution. And I do believe our DNA has been manipulated, many times. It's been proven pretty much. It's also been proven there are other dimensions now. So, what's to say these things aren't interdimensional and they're coming from the next dimension over into our realm and interacting with us, like you said, coming through portals of some sort or whatever. So, hey, the sky's the limit on this stuff, right? So, I mean, it's fascinating stuff to me.
Yeah, and so and you coming from a law enforcement background, you look at every angle, and I think that's important. And I'm looking forward to your book, and I can't wait to read it. Like I said, put me down for 10, and and let me know and keep me posted. So it's been great having you on and having you talk about all this, man. And I appreciate your time.
Hey, anytime, man. Like I said, I do a lot more than just Dogman. So you can check out my website, www.davespinks.paranormalinvestigator.com. You can see all the different TV shows I've been on, as well as all my other books that I've written, with more coming out as well. So I appreciate you having me on, man. It was my pleasure anytime. Yeah,
David Spinks, ladies and gentlemen. We have a mutual friend in common, and Ken, and I'm glad that I was able to meet you.
Me too, man. Me too. Sorry, I don't know. Last time I think you were dealing with some stuff, and I was too. So
yeah, we kind of missed each other, but yeah, we rescheduled, but we got it done, and it was good hearing your opinions and your theories, and it was awesome. I can't wait to read the book. And in the meantime, if you have any other books you want to suggest to the audience?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have several haunted books that I've done. A lot of my stuff's on West Virginia, but I also own the infamous Willows Weep house in Cuyahoga, Indiana. You may have seen that on the Unexplained with William Shatner. I'm also on 3 episodes of that, season 1 and 2 of that show, about monsters, hauntings, and more. I mean, I got a ton of stuff. Just check out my website. You can read all about me and what I've done and what's kind of up and coming. You can read about my store, Dave Spinks World of Weird. Come and check us out at the store, man. It's awesome. It's in Richwood, West Virginia, chock full of everything you can think of in the supernatural, metaphysical, and paranormal world. More to come there too.
Yeah, I actually watched that episode not too long ago. Real quickly here before you jump off. That episode that you were on, you bought that house, and it is reputedly one of the most haunted houses in the entire country.
Yeah, in my opinion, it is. And I've done, let's face it, man, I've done this for over 30 years now, and I've literally done thousands of various types of investigations. And there's been 2 houses in my time that I've spent time in, and this was before I even bought the Weep, that just countless people that have been in there before I ever owned it or was ever in it had some just hair-raising, crazy things happen to them. And, you hear about these places through the paranormal grapevine, as we call it, from other, man, you got to go check this place out, or you got to go to this section of the woods. There's all kind of reports of this going on, right? So you hear about these things, so you go check them out. And, I went there several times before I ever bought the place and became friends with the former owner, and some really bad stuff happened to her and her husband. She blamed it on the house, said the house was trying to kill her and her husband, and asked me if I wanted it. And I said, well, doing what I do, it'd be cool to have my own paranormal lab, so to speak. So I ended up buying it, and that's what I did with it. And then, let other groups go in it for, I bought it in 2017. So, for 3 or 4 years, I was letting groups go in there, and just a mountain of evidence and paranormal things were documented. And then a good friend of mine got attacked by something and got really messed up from it from the house, and I just shut it down. And that was right before COVID, and I never reopened it since then. So, the house is in a lot of disrepair also, and I don't feel it's safe spiritually either anymore. It's just too negative. And I wrote the book about it with a lot of people's evidence and accounts in the house, and we did the show on Unexplained about it. Of course, they only showed a tiny tidbit of what we got. Mm-hmm. I hate when they do that, but that's just the nature of some of these shows. And we did a documentary. There's a documentary out on it, and it'll be available in my store on DVD real soon, in the next month probably, part 1. And then there's a whole part 2 and a second book going to be coming out. And, if things work out, there's something brewing with the whole house and a big deal going on, but I don't want to get too much in specifics with that right now. But could be something big coming out on the house in the near future. So that's just one of the things I do. One of the many things I do in the paranormal. I have my own haunted location.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Like, one of the things that I saw on that particular show was that somebody had actually killed themselves in one of the chairs right there. I mean, you could see it. It was pretty obvious that had happened. And I just looking at the house, and when they kind of walk through it and you guys are walking, you're just kind of like, I could just, like, who would want to live in? I just, like, I kept thinking, I was like, it's such a lonely, forlorn looking place, and it was just.
Yeah, it's just bizarre. That place has so many things you look for in a typical haunted location. Mm-hmm. There's numerous deaths in the house, a lot of tragedy. It was built in 1890, so you got all those years of history. A man one of the original people that owned it, he got busted for molesting one of his stepdaughters. They slapped him on the wrist, fined him. And you want to talk about something karmic and pretty much just, it's so bizarre, and it couldn't be a coincidence, but he went out to feed his hogs, because it used to be a big farm at one time back in the old days, and they went to look for him for dinner. They sent one of the daughters out to get him, and they found him being eaten alive by his own pigs in the pig pen. Wow. So they had eaten off his genitals and his ankle and one of his ears, and his guts were hanging out, and they were eating that, and where he bled out. So if you subscribe to the Bible and you think about Mark 5, where Jesus sent the demons into the swine, and that's like a whole karmic thing. This guy was molesting little girls, and then he gets his junk and everything else eaten by the hogs. It's just bizarre. And so who knows what all else this guy had done, that he just got caught for the one thing. But that, that's all documented in the book. It's documented in the local history around there. And not to mention the other deaths in the house. It was built by Masons for a Mason. It's in the shape of a cross, facing
it's upside
east.
Down. Yeah, it's facing.
Yeah. So that all pertains how you look at it. It's facing east, so if you look at it, it would typically be an upside down, but the other way, it's not upside down. So just that's all in the eye of the beholder. So, and there's so much more to it. I just, I recommend reading the book, man. And it's now on Netflix now, so that show's on Netflix, The Unexplained. So you can check it out on there if you got Netflix.
Yeah.
It's on the very first episode. And then I was on Expedition X, Josh Gate's show, very first episode of that, talking about the Mothman and some other stuff. You'll see it on my website, though. Just check out my website. A bunch of different shows and more stuff coming.
Yeah. Okay, Dave, and I appreciate your time. And thank you for hanging out with us. And my audience, I know, appreciates it. And hope to talk to you again soon, man.
Yeah, anytime, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. All right, Dave.
Have a good night.
You too, man.
All right. Bye.
All right, bye. So, David Spinks, everybody. That was David Spinks. Another thing I forgot to do, I was going to, for my friend Jeff Meadows, who owns Black Sheep Boxing, September 3rd, I had a shirt that I was going to wear that it was given to me by Big Tex Gym and by Black Sheep Boxing, and it was the melee fights. It's on Saturday. The doors open at 2. The bell is at 3. It's a sold out show, so it's not going to matter. I can't promote it now, but I had the shirt. It was pretty cool. It was like a samurai, and the back of it says "Fight like you mean it," and I was going to wear that, but this show's already sold out. So yeah. So anyways. Black Sheep Boxing, they like I said, they went up to Wichita and went 8 for 8. Pretty tough group of guys. Great school. And anyways, David Spinks, everybody. I wanted to give get David Spinks on the show, and it didn't work out last time. I had stuff going on. He had stuff going on. We couldn't connect. I'm also going to be talking this week to Chris Garitano. If you don't know who that is, he's had a show that I think he produced himself. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think he did. And it's called Strange World. And it was on, and one of the houses that was featured on that show I've actually been to. Now, I was almost talked into going in and playing around in there, but some guy on his show had stolen a mirror out of there, and then all kinds of demonic crap happened. So thank goodness I didn't. But, and I don't want to knock the guy that was on his show, and I'm not talking about Chris, but the guy that was on Garitano's show. It was like, why would you take that? He says, I thought it was pretty. It was just a broken mirror, dude. Okay, I don't know why you would take that and say, oh, this looks pretty. And then you're like, oh, yeah, it was, haunted. Yeah, no crap. But that person did, and, had a bunch of crap happen, Plutonium Loach says, that same apartment where I lived as a kid, not only did I see that neon flame skull, there were also ghosts. We even saw a UFO outside the apartment. Plutonium, was it just a skull, or was it something else? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Thank you for that donation, though, Plutonium, regardless of whether it was just a skull or not. Take your donation back if it wasn't a skull. My gosh, man. Aaron Kelly Booth says, awesome guest. Yeah, David's awesome. He's really good. I mean, we had corresponded, hadn't actually spoken on the phone, but we had talked. And we do have a mutual friend in Ken Gerhardt. So Ken is, we're going to get Ken on board. He's very analytical. And he is a guy who will look at every angle. I'm consulting him heavily on this book. Him and Barton, pretty much. But because they are the guys to talk to about this stuff, I talked to Lyle about it for hours and hours because we rode together for hours going to the conference and coming back. And I have a good cadre of people that I can consult, because when I write this book, I don't want it to just be some little pamphlet or some little, it's a little book, whatever, just for something to sign. I don't want that. I want a book that people will read and enjoy it and then be like, wow, that's amazing, that's good, I like what I'm reading. I don't want some little crap. If it's going to be, it has to be something. It's got to be good. Titan says Ken is a scientist. He's not a scientist technically, but he kind of is, yeah. I mean, he's... the scientist is Ron Murphy. That guy, smart, super smart. Ken, though, is very analytical, and we're trying to bring him around. He's had a few weird things happen he can't explain, but he's one of those people he's got to know that this is, if it can be disproven, then he's going to, he wants to make sure that it's on the up and up, and that's a good thing. That's the guy that you want interviewing your people. That's who you want. Artistic Bunny says, I was told a story about a reenactor who took a rock from Devil's Den at Gettysburg. Ghost of the soldier followed him and would trash his apartment. I've heard stuff like that. Sounds like when we did the Hawaiian episode with Kevin Panay, we talk about that. I mean, people take a rock and the volcano goddess or whatever gets mad and, starts like sending junk mail to your house and, all kinds of stuff. You get all kinds of spam. I'm just kidding, folks. No, it's a lot more serious than that. Okay, a lot of weird, crazy stuff can ensue from you removing items from a historical place, and people think it's all a joke. It's not a joke. Don't do it. So, wow. So David just messaged me and says, when you get your book done, you'll have to come to the store and do a presentation and a book signing. I'm having Ron Murphy on in November and others. It sounds cool. Ron's a good friend of mine. I like Ron, and I like, we have some of the same friends. So next conference, Dave, you're going to have to come on. You're going to have to come to the next Dogman conference. There are a few people that didn't get to make it to the conference that I would like to be able to come. Titan talking about D.A. Roberts. D.A. Roberts has some of the best fiction. If you're into cryptids and stuff and zombies, that guy has some great stuff, man. Really great stuff. And I'm about to start reading Ron Murphy's book on vampires. Folks, I'm telling you, some of these guys out there, they're writing, they're doing some great stuff. There's some great podcasters out there doing great work. We as a community, you need to come together and start working together in all of these fields. The problem is like the guy, I don't want to put him on blast or anything, but he was at the UFO conference, and then he's like, oh, what you saw was an alien. This is a type species of alien from such and such place, I'm not really totally agreeing with that. That's fine that he believes that. I'm not going to fight him or argue with him about it. And I told him I wasn't going to give his name or anything like that, and because he hasn't agreed to come on the show or anything. So I don't think it'd be right to give his name, because if people don't agree with him, then they're going to probably say some stuff. That's his opinion, and he's entitled to that. He can believe what he wants to believe. That's completely okay. I don't have a problem with him doing that. Just because somebody has a differing opinion doesn't mean that we can't get along. That's the thing. Oh, and David Spinks. Let me give you how he spells his name. Is Spinks. Dave Spinks. That's what he goes by on Facebook. So, anyways, just giving you guys what's going on here, trying to bring you, it's 10 o'clock here in Central Time, Any questions? Anything I need to read? Bernard says, I saw a nice full-body mirror sitting by the garbage dump. Looked old, antique, and in excellent condition. Due to Josh's story about the creatures in the mirror that passed on bringing it home. Yeah, don't do it. You pass on bringing it home. You did the right thing, my friend. Okay? It could be bad. A buddy of mine took a mirror home, and you can ask Nellie. She can tell you the whole story. The thing, like, he put it on the speakerphone, and it was singing old show tunes. It was like, everybody's doing the Michigan. And you're like, whoa, God, what the? Oh my gosh. I couldn't believe it. That's all it was doing. It was just singing old show tunes. I couldn't. You know, it would play the worst rap and the worst heavy metal. It would just sing it back. That's all it did, and it just wouldn't stop. I'm just kidding, folks. It didn't. That didn't. I'm just made that up, right? That didn't. It's like. Aaron says, dude, I have a haunted mirror washstand. What, really? Are you being serious? Blue Cruz is PRT, keep up the hard work. Yes, I'm here slaving over a hot microphone. I am. Water. Seriously, Anthony, can I get a water? I'm thirsty. Good God. How many times I gotta say it? No. Blue Cruz, thank you for listening. Hold on, I'm getting a call here. Hold on. Hello? Oh, really? You hate me? You hate my show? What? Okay. Well, why don't you do your own show? You're busy, huh? You're taking care of somebody? Really? Well, that's a lame excuse. Let me put you on speakerphone. So that's why I don't do my show, because I have things to do. Like I order pizza and I sit at my mom's house and I talk about people on the internet. Do you have me on speakerphone? No, absolutely not. Of course not. I wouldn't do that to you. Oh, really? Your girlfriend's show's better than yours? Oh, that's not even your show either. Wow. Oh. Popular opinions on your side? Because they think you're a nice guy? Huh. Well, that's crazy. And so everybody knows that I'm a good guy because I'm always posting funny things and pretending to be a good guy. What they don't know is that I don't work and I don't need to work. I sit around and I do what I do. Okay, well, I'm going to let you go. Okay? I'm going to get you. Angry. It's accusing me of not inviting him to the conference. That's not true. I did invite him. What you choose to not do is your deal. It's all magic. People don't realize, like, those action figures are worth a lot of money. Like, my dad threw away a bunch of mine, and he was stupid. He didn't realize, like, that they're not, you know. But that's just how it goes. What's my index ring finger size? Dude, I don't even know, like, right off the top of my head. I just go to my jeweler's. Holly M has a question. Josh, are the PRT hoodies pre-tutored size and are they pre-shrunk? I'm interested in purchasing one. For me, they tend to be like, I think they run a little small. For me, I think that's what they do. So. And I want to give a shout out to the really rude guy over at Rico's in the mall. Like, I told Ken how rude the guy was, and I was like, dude. I'm like, where's the restroom? He's like, hey, it's just... And he's helping somebody who he's being rude to. And then he goes, over there behind you. I turn around and I'm like, behind me is a big place. I mean, you know, so I had to find it. I went back to the table and I was like, yeah, this guy's like really rude, you know. And then I told Ken and Ann, I was like, this guy's rude. And Ken's like, man, you always manage to find the people that, you know, and he kind of laughed. And then he goes up there to order his Euro. And the guy he was like, boy, what a ray of sunshine he is. I was like, I told you. He was a very rude individual. So shout out to you, rude guy. Hey, buddy, you having a bad day, my friend? You know, I'm gonna make your day worse, huh? Huh? What do you want to eat? A euro? You want a euro? Hey, there's a euro. Get out my face. Get out of my face. You got a euro. You're a hero of the euro with your euro. Goodbye. And I just laughed. I said, yeah. It was, it was funny. I got to ride an amazing race car. If you go look at the pictures on Facebook and on Instagram, it was a tiny little car, and I got to race, and I think I won. And it was pretty interesting. Right there in the mall in San Antonio. That was at the River Center Mall. I've actually had good luck over there, people being nice. But at the Mall of the Americas, the guy was very rude. But I did get me some contacts. I made some friends. Got to meet Chris James, who's an author. He's a pretty nice guy. Wrote a lot of cool books about the Laredo area and stuff. And I had a story that I just told the other day about the Laredo area, about a person that saw Bigfoot, and then they saw Dogman on the way back in the exact same spot. And it was a trucker. Weird. I mean... So, anyways, no soup for you. Exactly. No soup. Anybody got a story they want to tell before I get out of here? What city was the UFO conference at? That was in San Antonio. If anybody's interested in going to the Jefferson conference hosted by Craig Woolheater, I believe they still have tickets for sale. He told me they did yesterday anyway. So, anyways, next week... What do we have for next week? Next Tuesday, we got Carter Bouchard coming on talking Bigfoot and Dogman. And the week after that, we have Mark Hindu talking Dogman. They call him Shoddy Boy. He's got a channel, and he's going to be coming on and talking. So we have some guests lined up on Tuesdays, and then the Ambitious Project between me and Barton Nunley, where we are going to be doing a series of interviews that are going to be made podcast style. They're going to be 1 hour episodes dropped all at one time. You asked for it, you're going to get it. And hopefully by the end of the year, I will have my book out, hopefully by Christmas. That's the goal. I think we can do it. People told me, you'll never get people to buy those tickets to that Dogman conference. You don't have enough time. Some of these people were cool. They're in my community. They're my friends. Not they're just people that are fans of the show, but they told me it wasn't enough time. These things take longer. There's not enough preparation. You need more preparation, H, for your bung. I told them that's not true. Little dab will do you. And so I said, no, we're going to get this done. It's going to happen. And people didn't want to believe me. And we got it done. And, now they're already poo-pooing. You can't get that book done by December. Whatever. Say what you want. I don't care what these people say anymore. Jim Sapp says Fishman stories. I was watching a thing the other day about mermaids, dude, and there was like some pretty compelling footage of weird stuff that can't be explained with that. I thought it was really weird. I still want to do the water cryptids episode, but I need to find somebody to bounce it off of. All right, hold on, folks. What? Yeah. And another thing, I'm going to keep talking trash because I have nothing else going on in my life, like I said before. But I'm going to go to as many individual people as I can and talk bad about you on Messenger. Okay, goodbye. Man, that guy. Relentless. Blue Cruz asks, Josh, will there be a Kindle edition for your upcoming book this December? What is Kindle? What is that? Is that some newfangled type of young people thing, or the flying machines? You young people and your flying machines? All you guys go and join Inhumanoids with Barton Nunley. Go join his group, okay? He's a great guy. He's a good friend of mine, supporter. I support him. And go and join his group or our group. And then be sure to join Dogman, Werewolf Discussion, Phil Stern, and join the Wolf PRT. What is it called? And this is the other group I was going to tell you about. Of course, join the Paranormal Round Table group. You got to do that. That's a given. But let's go to groups. Go to Wolf Turner of PRT fan page. There's a lot of funny stuff that goes on there. Paranormal Roundtable prayer group. That's Nellie's group. Paranormal Lounge is Nellie's group. North American Dogman Project, Region 2, and then Inhumanoids with Barton Nunley, and then Paranormal Trucker Podcast, and Quad Coalition of Sciences with my boy Nick Valenti. And yeah, check all that out. Hold on, folks. A friend of mine was not having a good time there. Grace W., it was good meeting you at the conference. Thank you for that donation. You were a very, very nice individual. Contact John Bell. Yeah, I met John at the conference. What's going on with John? Let me ask that question right now. John seems to do good work. Let me just
Your call has been...
go straight to voicemail. I don't know what's going on. A bunch of people are saying that I need to talk to them. I don't know. I've been getting messages. The Titan says, Josh, maybe a show sometime on hunter killer teams that hunt Dogman and other cryptids. Yeah, I did that with Vault. And a bunch of people were like, this is what I, whatever. And they didn't want to hear it. I don't know. You make up your own minds. Another person that seems to be doing pretty good work, in my opinion, is Michigan Rob, Jessica Jones, and Tex and Jason from Tex Front Porch. And Jessica Jones is now also with Dave Scott and Spaced Out Radio. I will be on their show September. Gosh, I can't remember. Let me look it up so you guys can find me there on that day. Trying to figure out what day I'm supposed to be on so y'all can go check it out. Saturday, September 17th. I don't know the exact time, but I will be on Spaced Out Radio. So I don't know what we'll talk about. We can talk about anything. I'm into just about any subject. But there are some guys out there and gals doing some great work. Bettina Moss is a friend of mine, and of course, if you are going to say things about her and attack her, now, if she were to come out and say something about you and attack you unprovoked, of course I'm not going to support that. Somebody asked me that the other day. Well, what if she attacks me? I don't know. Defend yourself, dude. I don't know. I mean, if somebody comes out and attacks you, do what you got to do. Okay? Why do you need me to tell you what to do? Are you are you ignorant? Well, when someone attacks you, the first thing you do is just go limp and then lay there like this, and just fall over, like just collapse onto the ground, or maybe curl into a ball and hope that they don't kill you as they kick you to death. Obviously, that's the correct answer, right? I have to tell you, if somebody, well, what if they attack me? Obviously you're trying to generate a response. That's what so many of these people do. You want me to say something so that you can run back and go, well, Wolf said, blah, 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 or Josh Turner, whatever people call me. He said that, I need to jump on you. And then you take it completely out of context and they're going to go, what? Why did he tell you to jump on me? Did you tell them also that you asked me what I should do if I get attacked? Well, I left that part out. That's not important. I just went and told them, that's crazy. So, that's pretty ridiculous. You know, and I mean, you know, obviously you're trying to generate a response and you're trying to get me to fight with my friends. And it's like, you know, a lot of times I just ignore it. People say something to me and say, well, you should just ignore people. Yeah, just what you need to do. I do. I ignore like 90% of the garbage. And then every now and then you're just like, you know what? I've had enough of this crap and I'm going to throw a punch back. And then they're like, oh, look at what you're doing. You're always fighting with people. Oh my God, you're so awful. You're a horrible person. Somebody said the other day that I'm too loud. They're like, I don't like listening to him. He's too loud. But you know, isn't that what it is? It's excuses, man. His voice is way too quiet. Sometimes he's way too loud. He needs to have more dignity, or else he's way too proud. It's just excuses, man. You're just making excuses. You're just constantly finding something wrong with somebody. And it's just really a handful of people who are a cancer. And one of these little turds decides to make a post to say, hear ye, there's a cancer in this community. Yeah, you. How to spot an a-hole. Look in the mirror. It's you, dude. You did it. I mean, you know, it's hilarious. It's like the whole bait and switch, and it's like the little playground stuff. You know, you go up and you hit somebody, and then you run and tell the teacher that they hit you. Like, you know, you're crying out as you strike someone. Oh, they'll never catch on because, you know, I'm switching it all around. I'm poking people in the eye and then going and saying my eye hurts. You know? Talking crap. That's what you do. That's all you've done since I've known you. And get into it with people. And then want me to back you up. And then you run and backstab me. And it's happened way too many times. And then I'm done. Goodbye. Lazy turd. Stop being lazy. You know, and it's a shame that we have so many people in this community and they don't, you're not smart enough to see like these people for what they are. You know, it's like, it's so dumb. It's childish, dude. And they can lie. That's the problem, is that they are so good at that. I mean, the lying comes so easily. You're just blown away by it. You're like, wow, how can this be? How can it be that they're actually lying? Because you know, a moral compass, you're going to go, no way that this could be, you know, that this person could just lie like that. But they do. Bearing false witness. Just constantly. And the thing too, I will say, there are not a lot of females in this business, in this field, in this industry, whatever you want to call this community, that are doing this. And, you know, because I give credit where credit is due with Bettina, and then it's like, oh, she's talking because she's black and a female. That's what this one person said. Two people, actually. They're both turds. They're saying that how about she does good work? Me and Bettina have had it out. We had it out back when the whole Marvin thing happened, and we came to an understanding, and we're friends. She brokered the peace between us. We're cool. She came to my conference. I don't understand why that's a problem. Then you want to go and say, I didn't get invited. Liar. You did. You made every excuse in the book, which you always do. And you want to talk about public opinion is going to be on your side. Why? Because you slither around and pretend to be people's friend? But you're not, are you? Didn't happen the way you thought it would, did it? And then you want to go and get people to feel sorry for you and everything else. Shut up. You know who you are. There's a couple of you out there running your mouths because you got nothing better to do. Swearing up and down you're going to destroy me. Okay, you have a BB gun and you're shooting at a tank. Get over it. B is my friend, and everybody else who was at that conference's friend. So if you don't like her, keep it to yourself. That's what I would suggest. Unless she's just bullying you and attacking you, which isn't what I've seen. I've seen people coming after her, making groups to take her down. And this one individual in particular doesn't like Barton, doesn't like me. He doesn't like Elijah. Doesn't like Bettina. Tries to get people to fight his battles through by proxy. Stop skulking around in the shadows and just come right out and say what you got to say, boy. Come on, boy. Say what you got to say. Stop ordering pizza and playing around on the internet. And just say what you got to say. Stop making vague posts and going back behind people's backs. You love to attack females. That's your thing, is big attacking females. Both of you and your homeboy there. Anyways, it is what it is. Those people, they'll run through everybody in this community, and then they'll be done. Bigotry only lasts for so long. People see it. They'll see how you are. They'll see what you are. Somebody says the cryptid community is harsh. Yeah, all communities are harsh nowadays. You got to realize we're in the Kali Yuga. When you see the nature of reality, 1 in 4 people is righteous. The other 3 are lacking. Maybe trying, but they're lacking. And we all fall short of the glory of God. I'm the last person who's going to sit up here and be like, I am a godly man. I'm not the most righteous person on earth. But if I'm going to say something behind your back, I'm going to say something to your face. I'm going to say it out in the open. I'm going to say something, you're going to say something, say it. Then you throw your own girlfriend under the bus. Anything to save your own skin, right? Shame. But anyway, so I'm going to leave you with this. I have a UFO story. Since I went to the UFO conference, I want to tell you a UFO story. This one individual I was talking with at the conference, I didn't talk to him for very long, but we got to converse a little bit about the rise, the uptick in UFO activity between San Antonio and Austin. It's like a hotbed corridor right now. And this person was telling me that one day they were driving home from New Braunfels, and they were going to a small little community. It's called Green, but they were passing through that area, and so they stopped in Green, and they did something. I don't know, they ate dinner or something, and after they got done in New Braunfels, and then they drove to Bourne, which I think is west. If you just go to west of there, and on the way home, he said, "Dude, I don't know what happened. I must have fallen asleep at the wheel." And me and my wife, who's now his ex-wife, but they fell asleep, and they were on the side of the road, and they woke up. And here's what's weird, dude. He was wearing her shirt, and she was wearing his. And her shirt was on backwards. And they fell asleep on the side of the road. He has no recollection of how it happened. All he remembers is leaving and driving to Bourne, getting on the road to go to Bourne after they ate dinner. I think they said they ate the restaurant there, which me and my wife actually tried to go to on Sunday, and it didn't work out. So I was talking about going there, and he's like, yeah, I had a weird experience. So this person tells me that they were going through that highway, down that corridor, and they woke up at 2 a.m. on the side of the road. Something flew by on camera. Did y'all see that? That was weird. What the heck was that? What was that? It's so freaky, so weird. What the heck? But anyways, they ended up, having missing time. It's like it was already dark. We left. It was like 5 p.m, and we woke up and it was like 8. It was in the fall. It was dark. It's weird. I mean, and so he doesn't know what happened. But it is weird that he was, he's not a real big guy, but he was saying at the time he was a lot thinner. He had been in the military at one point, and his shirt was comparable to the size of his wife's shirt at that time. Somebody said it looked like a moth. Yeah, I don't see anything in here though. It would look like a moth. I don't want a moth in here, that's for sure. I don't know. But yeah. Stephen Rivas says, I saw a UFO on I-35 headed to 410 in San Antonio after having a work site that may have been a paranormal hotspot. Steve, you got to tell me about that. You got to talk about that. Yeah, Curtis Turner, you're right about him, but I mean this situation here, these two, I don't know that it has anything to do with him or whatever. They are two of the people who've just been running their mouths and blah 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 and bouncing around since the conference. And you know who I'm talking about, Curtis. They be illin'. I don't know what their opinion or connection to Vic is at all. I don't know. Probably none. I have no idea. I know one of them has been on, well, both of them have been on Vic's show, I think. So I don't know. But I mean, I don't think he's ordering them to do anything. I think they're just doing what they're doing. And I don't give a crap. I don't care about what their connection is to him. It's just ridiculous, like how they've been just running their mouths, flapping their gums, talking trash about everybody since the conference. Somebody, took a picture, and sent it to them from the conference. Somebody was like taking videos and sending them to people from the conference, and that was causing problems. Pretty sure I know who it was. I think it was. I think that they were being misled, and that's why they did it. So I mean, hunky-dory order. Vic is an institution at this stage. Yeah, pretty much right about that. Bernard, you sent me your UFO stories. Mr. Wilson says institutions fall. Yeah, things are the way they are until they're not. Stephen, you got to give me all that information. We got to talk. I think one of these individuals just spent too much time working with this other guy who just rubbed off on him. And this is all it is. That's probably what it is. And then you wonder if this person ever really was your friend. I mean, obviously they weren't. They just couldn't let well enough alone going and. Carl King, yeah, they want exposure for their shows, but don't want to earn it the legit way by being real about everything. Yeah, that's true. You got to put in the work. If people ask me all the time, they want to do a podcast, they want to do a talk show, whatever, and it's like you got to put in the work. You can't just sit back and let everybody else do it, and then you try to come in and oh yeah, It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort. It's like anything else. You want to build a business, it's the same thing. It's the same principle applies, dude. You're not going to advance if you don't put in the work. Nowadays, we have this whole thing where people they want something for nothing. They don't want to put in any kind of effort or work, but they want maximum results. That is not how life works. How many times do people have to tell you this? The people that are successful, you know, what's even more telling is a lot of millennials. I was reading something, and they were saying that a lot of millennials believe that people that are wealthy get their money by inheritance. And then there was this really small percentage of people who actually inherited their millions, that most of the people that are millionaires actually built it themselves. You know? Hunky Dory, who are you on about? Just a guy. Just a couple guys. You know, dudes playing other dudes, trying to be dudes, whatever. That's what they're doing. That's who it is. Artistic Bunny says, my grandfather fell asleep driving years ago, woke up on the side of the road with the passenger door open and across the street from a church. Just reading some comments here, folks. No doubt about it. I'm just looking at it from a different lens. If he actually went, it would have been epic. I suppose he's talking about VC. The best thing to do with that guy is just quit talking about him. Well, that guy just, cares, dude. His people are not going away. They're never going to stop. And there's no, you just... Jordan Cockburn, so you don't want to pay my student loan debts. Where does everybody stand on that with the student loan thing? Everybody's just talking away about that. Grace says, when someone earns big wealth, it is usually gone by the third generation. That's true. They usually have kids that fall below the median because they never have to achieve anything. They go to some pricey college and they get some goofy degree that does nothing for them, and then they don't achieve, and then they squander mommy and daddy money, and then that's it. Thank you, Stephen. All right, guys, I'm going to head out. Just reading the comments. Glad that you're all here. We had a great time with David Spinks, the guest, and we got some stories out there. It's food for thought. You guys keep up the good work. Keep making the memes. Let's keep pushing. Let's do this. Let's work together. Let's push this into a new era. Let's create the new guard. And those from the old guard that want to be a part of it, they can come with us or they can get out of the way. It's up to them. You know, there's all these people who want things to be a certain way, and they're not. And they're never going to be again. Okay? We've ushered in a new era. We're ushering in a new era. And we've awakened something in people that is bringing people together. And there are those, like I said, that are they're gonna gnash their teeth, and others are gonna jump for joy. But it's a fact that I'm here every Tuesday saying what I say. I'm gonna call you to the floor on your BS, or I'm gonna praise you for your good deeds, for your good work, and your help, and our endeavors. Let's work together. Let's get some answers. Let's get some thought going. Let's do some thought-provoking material every week that makes you think. That we can all work together. I'm going to start doing these recordings for you guys with Barton. We're going to get on that. We got to get started. We got a lot of work to do. And God willing, it'll come, and hopefully within about a month we'll have that done. And you guys will have a bunch of episodes to check out. And then the book, hopefully my target is to get it done by Christmas. You think I can do it? Watch. That's what happens. We'll see, okay? If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's not the end of the world. It's still going to happen. But I'm hoping to get it out by Christmas. So, everybody, I love my PRT people, my paratroopers, and join the groups. This episode, like all episodes, will be dropped on the Paranormal Round Table group on Facebook. You can send me a friend request, but if you don't tell me, hey, I listened to your show, I watch your show, whatever, I'm not going to approve it. Simple as that. Unless I know you, I've met you in real life. And I don't mean like I don't, because, but I'm saying like if I don't know who you are, All right, guys, I'll see you. Good night.